All right, I'd like to call the Lafayette Parish budget meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to ask Councilman Brian Tabor to lead us in prayer, and then we'll follow that up by the pledge with Councilman Gilbo.
Thank you, Lord. Father God, we come to you today and just give you praise and glory for this day, Father. We ask that you just bless this meeting, Father God. Give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the know-how to do what we need to do in our positions. And for the parish itself, Father God, we just pray that you just bless us, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Councilman Tabor, for the prayer, and thank you, Councilman Gilbo, for leading us in the pledge. Appreciate it very much. Welcome. Hope everyone has a great day today, a blessed day, for sure. We welcome you to today's budget review meeting. This meeting is a departmental budget review session. If you wish to address the council, a green card should be filled out and given to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, who's seated to my left. I'm requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only, and the right side of the auditorium to be reserved for the budget finance staff. I'm also requesting that anyone who approaches the podium, please state your name and title for the official record. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and we ask that you please silence all your cell phone devices and what other device you might have. All right. This meeting is to address matters related only to the proposed budget document. Please, we request that all other matters specific to the city parish government business be directed to the administration and that it not be addressed at this public forum. The budget document has been posted on the website at LafayetteLA.gov under the Finance tab. Public comment will be held immediately following each budget review on matters related to that specific department's budget. All council members are reminded that there are 3 possible actions that can be taken during the hearings. A council member may propose changing the budget by offering one of the following. 1, a general amendment. That's when the entire council agrees on a proposed amendment. 2, a separate amendment when a council member objects to a budget change. And 3, a council member may also choose to mark an item for a wrap-up discussion, which allows more time to receive additional information. You may also make a request for information from the director or agency head following your receipt or review of the information. Then you may choose to come back later to perform one of the 3 options. As budget chair, I will be presiding officer for joint meetings. I will also alternate with budget finance chair Liz Hebert on presiding. We will be addressing letter F, Justice of the Peace and Constables first, as their representative Barbara Broussard has a scheduled conflict, and I'm going to use my chair privilege to do so for that. For those tuning in from home or other locations, please call 291-8428. That's 291-8428 if you wish to speak. Please keep in mind that there is a delay when viewing on TV and via the internet. Council announcements related to the budget. I'm not seeing any. Mayor President Guillory, do you have any opening comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Just want to tell all of our fellow elected officials, appreciate your service. Thank you for taking the time to present to our council. I know you're obligated to do it, but I also know that you put a lot of effort in doing that, and you're prepared to answer their questions. And just again, want to relay how privileged we are to serve such a great parish, and I know that each of you feel the same way. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and we appreciate all that you guys do.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, moving right along. Justice of the Peace. The first department up is Justice of the Peace and the Constables. Laurie, you have any opening comments or anything you want to say in regards to that?
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Finance Department does have a list of what we call housekeeping amendments that we're going to present to you this afternoon to the Joint Council. This morning, we don't have anything for the Justice of the Peace and Constables. You should know that the JP's and Constable's office is state mandated. It's a parish mandate that the parish funds certain expenses of the department, and it's very limited. As you'll see in a few minutes. I don't have a pie chart or anything that shows you that, but it does all come from the parish general fund.
Okay. All right. At this time, we'll defer to the Justice of the Peace and Constables representing for opening comments. Is Ms. Barbara Broussard here? We'll go to page, Council, we'll go to page 104, beginning of operating expenses.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Barbara Broussard, I'm the president of Justice Peace and Constables Association. I want to welcome all the new
Justice Broussard, pick up your mic. Thank you.
There it is.
Okay. Barbara Broussard, I'm the president of Justice Peace and Constables Association. I want to welcome all the new people that I haven't met yet, and I hope to be working with y'all along with the rest that have had to go out by now. But I've been in 26 years, and it looks like I'm going to serve another 6 years because I was unopposed. But whatever y'all can do for us, I thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm still pleased with what I have at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next section is for Justice of the Peace Constables that would discuss is the 2021 capital. That would be, anybody has anything on capital?
Page
No,
104.
they don't have any capital, so their operating expenses start on page 104, and it's right in the middle of the page, very limited. It covers their, guess it's
Training.
not really a salary, but it's a per diem, kind of like a salary and training that is state mandated.
Okay. Councilman Tabor.
I got a question on the personal salaries. When you go back to the manning tables, all the other ones match up with the proposed for the year, and it's off. If you look back on the manning tables, it's 196,469, and on this one, it's 162,114.
So that would be us, or like, I'll blame Kearney for this, so I'll have to call him up. If you could give me a hand, Kearney?
Easy now.
I mean, y'all just won all those awards. What's up?
I got
Well, you know, this is not the,
Start off with
when
all
you
the
see this white, that's not the award-winning one.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta wait for the black, the
I
black
knew there was
follow
something.
up
I knew it. I knew it.
We might have to follow up with you
I
on
was just
that.
curious. I don't know if it might
Is
have
it typo is what you're saying?
I don't think it's a typo.
No, that's unusual, so we might have to follow up with that, with you on that. The JPs and constables get a set amount from the state.
Right, that $100 a month, that might be what the difference is. We get $100 a month that comes through, it gets sent to, no, it's
The
not that.
difference is 34,355.
Oh, okay.
So
That's probably,
Yeah,
I
that
thought it
might
might
be-
be a
that's what it is.
That might be
different
the
salary
flow.
somewhere, but
That's what it is.
It might be the flow through from the state. They make us run it through the
just
payroll
curious.
system.
All the rest lined up. I just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
we will double
Obviously, we
check
get
and
more
follow
money, you know.
up.
So I'm done. Thank you.
What? Just a moment.
Yeah, good catch,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, I hear you. Okay. That was, you already alluded to page 325. That was on the manning table. So is that the only question we have in regards to manning tables? We're good? Okay. Any comments from the public?
No, sir.
All right. Ms. Barbara, have a good day.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it, same here.
All right.
So Kearney did verify that is state supplemental pay. It's not paid by us, but it is run through the payroll system.
Okay. All right. Moving along. Next department, adult correction. Lori, go ahead.
I do have a pie chart. You know, we like our pie charts in finance, and we work hard on them. Traditionally, you see blue slices that represent money from the city funds and green slices that represent money from parish funds. These are coming from two other dedicated property taxes. One of them is the correctional center millage. It's a millage dedicated to the correctional center. And the adult correctional center uses all of that millage, and then we go to the courthouse complex fund to supplement that. This year, it's estimated that we're going to go into the courthouse complex fund over $4 million. The purple slice up there represents what we call state revenue sharing, and that's money passed down through the state, and there's maybe some small amount in there that's generated from fees from the prisoners. This budget does not include amounts paid by Public Works for utilities and ongoing things that Public Works manages at the Adult Correctional Center. Those are about $700,000, and that'll be under the Public Works Department. And it also does not include about $1.5 million of capital outlay.
Okay. Just to be, for the record, both of these are parish millages, correct?
Both of these are parish-wide millages, yes, sir.
Can you tell me what the original millage was voted on back in the day? Has this millage been rolled down in previous years? Have we lost the ability to get what we had at the beginning? And I know Conrad's in the office in here, but can you tell me what that original millage was? Or can you tell me what it is today?
I can tell you what it is today.
Okay.
Both of those millages, I am looking at schedule of revenues by source on page 59, and I can see that the correctional facilities is 2.06,
Okay.
and the courthouse complex is 2.34. And we are working on that schedule that you requested, Mr. Nakhan, where you requested information on the millages and the amount.
And the history of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only reason I bring that up is because the previous councils that I worked on, we tried very hard to look at increasing those millages, or, you know, to where they both would be self-sufficient, where they wouldn't have to borrow from the other or subsidize. That way, you know, everybody had their own thing, and it didn't pass. But I was just curious later, for later discussion, when you give me that information. I just was curious to see if 2.6 has always been, or if it had rolled down in previous years. But I do know that the millage set for the jail was originally supposed to be a 2-story,
I'm going to
and we got a
request,
5-story.
while we have the assessor here and we hold him hostage, that we could perhaps find out how the millages are going to work next year, because I understand assessments may have gone down.
Right.
So we really need to understand how the millages will work for next year and how those revenues will be generated.
Gotcha. Okay, let's move right along. Opening remarks at this time. Sheriff.
Good morning, Council. Sheriff Mark Garber, for the record. I'll let my warden introduce herself. She's at the other podium.
Paula Smith, Major of Corrections. Good afternoon, good morning.
All right, and, you know, Chairman, I'd like to thank you for calling attention to what, you know, I want everybody in the room to understand, and I know that you understand it well, but your fellow council members may not. You know, this has been a long time coming, that we collectively as government, before my time as sheriff, have known that this millage, which wasn't rolled forward at certain times, has been inadequate to fund the needs of Lafayette Parish. You've got a parish that's grown in population rather exponentially, to our credit, yet we have not increased the infrastructure commensurate with that growth. At least that's what I see from my perspective as a sheriff who was elected in 2015 and came into this. So with that, I'd like to go forward at y'all's pleasure.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's go ahead to the beginning. Operational expenses, page 107 and 108. We'll start at the top of 107.
Well, let's start
I'm sorry,
at the
in the
bottom.
bottom. I'm sorry. Any council members? Councilman Tabor.
Sheriff, I got a question on contractual services. You're adding 1.7 million. Does that have anything to do with the lawsuit?
Yes, it does. I'm glad you brought it up. You know, we need to talk about the ongoing litigation in context. Obviously, you know, I'm not going to pull the old, I can't comment on ongoing litigation with you, but I want to be courteous to the city parish attorney, with whom I have a gentleman's agreement with. I'm also a licensed member of the bar, so I don't want to violate any of my ethical considerations. But there was a lawsuit that I filed, that the sheriff's office filed against the parish of Lafayette, much to my dismay and against, you know, my wishes. But I had no choice under the prior administration. And that is asking for operational costs to be funded. Currently, those operational costs are more than the 1.7 million increase that you're referring to. It's actually $2,100,000 and change. the media keeps saying that there's 2 million. Well, it's 1.7. I'd like to get the other 300,000 if it's 2 million, but it's $1.7 million that the administration recommended be allocated to expenses. And there's an important distinction here. I'm not being given $1,700,000 to put in my operating account and spend how I want. This would be pass-through money that would be allocated to obligations that the parish, at least on the executive side, appears to be acknowledging that these are obligations. Now, those obligations are subject to an ongoing legal dispute. Their acknowledgement of that, to the extent that they're recommending it, is not in any way, any kind of admission of liability on their part. This is simply two branches of government trying to work together on a common problem. To that end, I recommend that we, being the sheriff and the parish council, work together on a solution that would end this litigation before we put our future in the hands of a judge. No offense to any district judge, but I'd rather decide what I'm going to have to do than put it in the hands of a third party and let somebody else decide what the council has to do and what the sheriff has to do. And I'll end my comments on that with one other observation. We're not on different sides of this. The law specifies that the parish is to provide a good and sufficient jail. And the law also specifies that the sheriff has to run the jail. I don't own the jail. You all do, as the parish officials. So we have to work together. We are on the same side of this. And it's only because of antics by the prior administration that there's even a lawsuit. But I think we can work this out and work together.
So what you're saying, it could go away?
Yes, sir. That's always my goal, is litigation.
That's all I got. Oh, I do have one other thing while I got you. I just wanted to ask you on the COVID, how has it affected your budget? I haven't heard that any drastic cases over there, so everything y'all doing something right.
Yeah, it's good and bad. We're a lot bigger than the parishes surrounding us as far as our head count in our jail, in our employee count. And, you can keep a fairly closed system in a building, but you can't control what people come and go. In other words, the deputies who work there come in and, who they do things with on their off time, what they get exposed to, things like that. We've been remarkably fortunate. I think you make your own luck in this world, but you also got to get a little lucky sometimes. Mm-hmm. We've been very, very fortunate. We've had some positive cases we've been able to contain and isolate. Most of the local police departments are working well with us. There's a few, individual officers who I think are pretending that we're not under a state of emergency and think that business should be conducted as usual, even though, it's a state, local, and national state, a world state of emergency. Yeah. But by and large, our protocols are working. That's what I want the council to know. One healthcare provider told me that it would cost approximately $20,000 per case of COVID if we had a COVID outbreak. You look at Vermilion Parish, they have, 39 or 40? You got St. Martin Parish with 69, according to what was reported in the paper, I think today, or KTC, something like that. Other parishes have none. I think that's because they're not accepting largely, any arrestees. We just have so many people here, Councilman Tabor, that, we're going to have domestic violence. We're going to have people, committing these shall arrest offenses where we do take them in. And we do take in people in the jail for those who have heard otherwise. We do accept arrestees. We accept arrestees if they are a danger, a clear and present danger to the public or to other people, like household members, for example, in domestic violence cases. That's a shall arrest type statute. We accept other arrestees if they, have warrants for violent crimes, for example, things like that, and we deem them based on the factors at hand specific to that arrestee to be an ongoing danger to the public. By doing so, we haven't overwhelmed our quarantine space, but we have come close. What I mean by quarantine space, just for walking around knowledge, we hold them up for 14 days separated from the general population because of the availability of testing, which has changed, because this thing changes almost every day. I think now, Warden, we hold them up 7 days and then we test them.
Usually it's 7 to 10 days upon intake.
So we're able to quarantine them, test them, get a negative test, then we can put them in general population, to put it simply. And that system has been working. But it's kind of like trying to have a unicycle on top of a bowling ball sometimes to balance it. But thank you for asking.
And I commend you both, for the work y'all doing of keeping it low. 20, that would definitely put a hurdle in the budget of, what you said, 20,000 per, so.
Yes, sir. And we did include a document in your packets that shows the money we've saved on prescriptions and on building maintenance. You can track it from 16, 17 budgeted and what was spent down to the present. That's due to the innovations of my correction staff achieving with some grants, Warden, for HIV medication, which was very expensive.
Some funding from private sources that we were able to get in touch with that would help us with our hepatitis and our HIV prescriptions.
Yeah, the hepatitis was the other one. So, in 2018-19, we spent $282,000 out of $500,000 budgeted. The year before that, we had exceeded by $23,000 the budgeted amount at $523,000, and we're on track to come in even lower this year. More than, as of July 30th, we had only spent $131,000 on medication. And so anyway, I just want to point out, some of the things we're doing right. Since I've been sheriff, we've saved $321,000 on maintenance for LPCC due to preventative maintenance. And I've outlined it there, for y'all's review in just a real simple synopsis statement. We are very, very interested in saving money, and we haven't wasted any effort in doing so.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Okay. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Sheriff, thank you. Thank you, Major, appreciate you. I just want to, while we're talking about budget, just want to highlight a few things. I commend the Sheriff and the Warden on your COVID response. And, when we take in prisoners, when the Sheriff takes in prisoners, that's our responsibility. So containing the COVID, someone mentioned it earlier, when we talk about budget and how it hits, because that's our mandated cost, not only from a health response, you guys did a great job, but it also helped us to save money. While we're in budget, we need to talk about that. But I also commend you on working with us as we enforce the safe shop policies. We got sales tax revenue. Again, we're talking about budget. Our sales tax revenue came in recently, and a big part of that was we were able to open up our parish, the first one in the state, safely, and we're still going through that. But we couldn't have done that without partnering not only with LPD and our marshal's office, but also our sheriff's department, because you guys are unique. You help us in the city, but you're our chief law enforcement officer in the parish. So you're taking the lead in our unincorporated areas where there are businesses there as well, and also in our municipalities. And that's helping us as we go through the budget process. So I appreciate that. And one note on lowering costs. Look, I'll leave the litigation comments out, but as far as lowering costs, anybody watching home, we are committed to lowering these mandated costs and costs for man days. But it can't fall on the shoulders of the sheriff. It can't fall on the shoulders of the administration, just individually. We have to work together. We have our DA who works extremely hard and serves 3 parishes. We all have to work together. Sheriff with the jail, DA prosecuting and clearing the docket, and our judiciary who also works hard. I don't see any representatives here, but the public has to, I believe, should be aware that when we come to the parish council to fund these operations, it's not just the council, it's not just the administration, it's not just the jail and the sheriff and the DA and the judge. We have to change the way we operate, and we're going to get through it. So very unique situation here where we have to dip into the courthouse complex fund balance to fund what we believe to be our mandated costs, but we're all in agreement that we have 12 months to do better. And that's what I heard the sheriff ask the parish council, and I know you guys, y'all are going to work hard with him to do that. So I just want to highlight those points and tell the sheriff's department that we appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for all you do for the parish. Please bear with me. I have a few questions, and really these are just me being a numbers guy. I'm really a nerd at heart, and so when I find a...
Is it related to 107?
It is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it is. So I'm looking at the expenses for the adult correctional facility, and I know this is tied into it. So can you explain what would bring about an 85% increase in 1 year? And I know you were asking for the roughly the same dollar amount last year, and you were able to operate this, over the past fiscal year with the same $2 million coming from for contractual services. But again, what is spurring on, you referenced medical expenses, but what's spurring on that 85% increase in cost? Because as I look at the numbers, inmate population is down, especially with COVID. We have far fewer people in the jail that we're able to book. So all of those things would lend itself to lower medical expenses. So I'm trying to understand the significant increase with the lower population should be lower medical expenses.
It should be, and your question brings up several topics. I hope I can kind of get them all in.
Sure.
First of all, we're arresting fewer people. I can't move people out. So, right now the DOC is not accepting transfers. I can't move humans out, so I can't really put them in. So, there should be, ergo, lower cost, right? We should have lower crime if we make more arrests, but that doesn't work that way. Louisiana's been the highest state with the highest incarceration rate in a country with the highest incarceration rate in the world for about 80 years, 50 years plus, and we don't have any less crime here than we do anywhere else. To my point, you can have an inmate that comes in and says they have chest pains and they can throw your medical cost out of whack. So it should work that way, and it would work that way if we were in a prison setting where the inmates are stabilized. They've been in the criminal justice system for a long time, but we have what we call unstabilized inmates who are coming in off the street. They're battling addiction, they're battling depression. When they get off of whatever they were on out on the street, they have a host of mental problems and physical problems. So I would tie a continuing decrease in medical cost to the COVID reduction in our inmate population. However, when and if this ends, we are going to have to aggressively go out and fulfill arrest warrants. These are orders from the court.
Right.
And we're going to go back up to maximum population in the Lafayette Parish Correctional Center very, very quickly. We're going to go back to the prior state of affairs where we have this overflow population. And part of your question invokes the whole issue of mandates. And what I mean by a mandate, counsel, is the cost of incarcerating a human being in Lafayette Parish Correctional Center for one day or somewhere else, such as an overflow facility. So it's interesting to note this past legislative session, and I put this in your packet, okay, this is a fiscal note from the state legislative offices that was in this past session where they were going to add back to the list of violent crimes the possession of a felon, convicted felon of a weapon. That had been taken off the list of violent crimes, I guess, to reduce incarceration or whatnot. So, there's this big argument about whether incarceration works or not. And so, the fiscal officer for the legislature was doing their job. And on the second page, you'll note that the Department of Corrections says it costs $67 a day to keep someone in jail for a 24-hour period. It cost us in Lafayette Parish $62 a day. I get reimbursed $3.50 a day from the parish, as you probably know. So we lose money every day that we keep someone in jail. So I agree with you that we should see a reduction in cost, but I wouldn't count on that for any future course of action or any sort of future planning, because we have a big backlog of about 600 or so felony warrants at last count that I was given, and plus ongoing arrest and so forth. The mayor president touched on something that's also responsive to your question and the issues that arose with it, is the cost of LPCC and the mandates. That's not a situation that I created, and it's not a situation that I'm in control of to the least little bit. This is a situation that, and I have a binder of articles here that I brought with me. In 2016, they were predicting massive backlogs in the criminal justice system. And look what happened. We have this massive backlog now. So you made a point a while ago that, look, you existed with this last couple of years. Now you're asking for a $1.7 million increase. That $1.7 million is pass-through income. I don't get it. I don't get to buy police cars with it or give a pay raise with it. That is going to operational cost for the deputies who clean the jail, the deputies who maintain the jail. The parish is welcome to take that over anytime they want to, but I'm told they like it the way it is, and we save a lot of money doing it that way. to incarcerate a person, okay, for a day, that's like taking care of basically a 200-pound 5-year-old. You have to give them clean underwear, you have to give them clean clothing, you have to exchange their bedding with them, and we have to feed them 3 times a day. We have to take care of their medical needs, we have to provide them with communications with their families, religious needs, things like that, a certain amount of recreational activities to keep us out of hot water with the federal government and so forth. So these are services that I contend that the parish owes in order to maintain a good and sufficient jail. This is for operations of LPCC. To date, the sheriff has been shouldering those costs all the way back to before I was sheriff.
And these costs associated with strictly parish prisoners are all the prisoners in LPCC, including DOC prisoners, out-of-parish prisoners?
It's associated with anyone in LPCC.
Which I think is the substance of the ongoing lawsuit. So the lawsuit that I've seen, a similar lawsuit out of Tangipahoa Parish, my understanding is that there are some fixed costs that we are 100% on the hook for, and then there are some variable costs where we are responsible, yes, to provide medical care for our prisoners, but if there are DOC prisoners in there, then we are not responsible, or out-of-parish prisoners, we're not responsible for those medical costs, dietitian, whatever, you can go down the list. And so there are some fixed costs, some variable costs. But you're saying you view us as the responsible party for all prisoners, regardless of their classification?
Can I
Go
interject?
Go ahead, Warden.
To manage the facility, and I'm talking about LPCC,
Right.
and the reason we gave you a copy of the head count is for you to actually see exactly what the jail composes of. So
Correct.
when you're talking about an unsentenced parish inmate, it's your responsibility.
Correct.
City inmate, your responsibility.
Correct.
Unsentenced city, sentenced parish. Now, there are some Department of Corrections state inmates that are housed there in LPCC, and yes, we receive funding from the state. However, those inmates provide a service at a savings to yourselves and myself as well as a taxpayer, because those provide services. We cannot force an inmate to work, an unsentenced inmate.
Right.
A sentenced inmate, which is a state inmate, we can. So in order to provide services within the facility, we get with that inmate, see exactly what type of skill that they can provide, and work for us. And I say us, meaning all of us. So when you look at housing Department of Corrections inmates, they're providing a savings to us. Now, we use, on an average, we're taking in, I say taking in, we're working 59. They provide 59 services. So we need 59 inmates to provide those services, to assist with the savings.
Give an example, Warden, of what you're talking about.
So in other words, for the kitchen to create meals. Of course, a staff of, let's say, 11 or 12 correctional deputies cannot provide thousands of meals a day. You're going to need approximately 30 inmates from different shifts because they're providing 3 meals a day. So you're talking about 30 inmates that are just assisting the deputies in the kitchen. Not to mention, you need medical, you need cleaning, you need laundry. The deputies are monitoring and supervising some of the inmates that are helping and providing these services at a savings. So while it looks like we're holding Department of Corrections inmates, for money, it's actually at a savings of the parish. If that helps describe
it
some
inures
of
to the parish's benefit. We need 59. We've got, as of today, 51 DOC. When I came in 2016, I shipped out 250 Department of Corrections pretty much overnight. Might have been more than that. But, I actually had, a visit from the president of the Sheriff's Association, the executive director. They drove to Lafayette to ask me what the heck I was doing because I was breaking ranks. But I had calculated at that point that I'm over $60 a day in cost. They're reimbursing me at that time $24 and change a day. It's not a good deal for the taxpayers of this parish. So from the beginning, from when I came in, I've sought to reduce those head counts and move things around so that we could save the most money and have the most room for unadjudicated parish prisoners.
Okay, let me shift gears just a little bit, but though related to the same number. So I'm looking at the amount of money that we've spent on out-of-parish man days. starting in 2017, $28,000. 2018, $324,000. So a tenfold increase. 2019, $955,000. A threefold increase over the year prior. And we're talking about 30 times the amount of money that we're spending on sending our prisoners to other facilities in 2 years. Can you please speak to that? What's driving that need to send our prisoners out of parish if we have excess capacity at our facility here?
We haven't had excess capacity when those were shipped out.
So the numbers that we were given today, the total, there's 380 prisoners. That's as of today.
That is today's head count.
So you're saying in these 2 other prior years, you had to send those prisoners out because there was no capacity at LPCC?
Correct.
100% taken up by our prisoners, and then excess prisoners, we had to send them to other prisons, whatnot.
Yeah, for example, and you get into this trick bag where you have to leave 40 or 60 beds open at any given time for a court date because you've got people, what we call rolling in for court. They get converted to DOC if they take a plea or if they get convicted of a crime. Trials are relatively rare, as most of you know. So it's just a plea to get out of jail or to get a fixed sentence under DOC, and then we can move them out or we can put them to work if they get converted. But until that time, the parish has to pay for them. And the parish, I know it seems like a lot of money, but they're getting a good deal. They're paying the state rate. They're not paying what it actually costs.
But the state rate is, 7 times what it is if they were in our prison here.
Well, it is on paper, but remember it costs the parish $62 a day to incarcerate someone. Y'all are reimbursing the sheriff $3.50 a day. The cost is still the cost. We still have a common problem, whether or not it's coming out of this pot of money or that pot of money.
Okay. I have one other question. So
well, let me. I don't think I answered your question fully, but I have 11 articles in this binder that go in 2015, 2016, 2018 that talk about the crisis that is looming and is coming to parishes like Lafayette. The IDO office shut down couple of times, all right, for the better part of a year, one time, and all these cases continue to get continued. They also engage in a practice of hiring out-of-state attorneys on a 1 or 2 year contracts. So they come in, hey, Judge, I got to get caught up on my cases. So they get continuances. They work here for a little while, then they leave, and a new attorney comes in, and they get more continuances. That has caused a backlog. And Councilman Carlson, I really want you to understand that this is beyond my control. It's beyond any of our control. It is within the control of the district attorney and the judges, subject to the constitutional, mandates about fair trials and so forth, and they can't push them further. Thank you for letting me add that.
No, absolutely. I will say this, as a follow-up to what you said, Warden, I understand that we can use some of those DOC prisoners to provide some of the services within the correctional center, and that helps reduce or maintain costs. But also there is increased costs associated with housing those prisoners and a wear and tear on the facilities. We just spent in the last few years over $1 million on plumbing facility. I know that the more people we put in that jail, the more wear and tear, which we're on the hook for all of those costs. And so I understand what you're saying, that yes, it saves money here, but there are also increased costs. On the flip side, if I put 5 people in a room or if I put 500 people in a room, there's going to be more wear and tear, more maintenance, more utilities, everything like that. So
you are correct. However, the percentages of your state inmates is minimal compared to the amount that's your unsentenced and your sentenced.
So in January, I'm looking at the numbers today, but in January, the number of DOC prisoners, the number that I was told was 45% of people in LPCC, 44% were DOC prisoners. Is that not accurate?
I'd have to look at the figures in which you're getting at, but I would say I would disagree. You may have gotten a total percentage because we have 2 other facilities.
Correct. Willis, I'm aware of that. Maybe so. I just wanted to.
But as far as inside LPCC, no, sir. I disagree.
Okay. And it's interesting to note, too, typically we've had in our annex, which is not owned or maintained by the parish, and also the DSU, we call it on Willow Street, right. We'll typically have close to 200 prisoners there, most of them parish prisoners. Right. We've severely reduced that with the outbreak of COVID and also with me being forced to make cuts in personnel. Right. So we never billed the parish for any of the costs. Like if that was an outside facility, what the parish would have been paying. The parish was saving, and close to $1 million a year is one time we calculated during these years at issue. So, if that were, I mean, we could talk about that, but if we're going to talk about this, the population of LPCC, we need to take it in context and look at the total picture of what the sheriff's office on its own, without reimbursement any more than $350 a day, has done for the parish. And then we can look at the cost sharing and the cost benefit. I would like for the parish to take over the feeding of the prisoners completely. Y'all are welcome to do that. Take over the medical care. Y'all can sub it out, do RFPs, and take it over, and we can get rid of these DOC prisoners. This jail that was built in '86 or '87 was designed, well, originally, as the chairman pointed out, as a 2-story facility. Eventually, it was raised to 5 stories. The capacity was supposed to be 351. But a prior sheriff came in and doubled up the beds in every cell, which was not, they didn't take account the plumbing, the showers available, things like that. The plumbing was non-correctional specification at the time. That's why we had to replace all that plumbing, because it wasn't built right to begin with. The light fixtures were not correctional grade, up to correctional specs at the time, even in the 80s. I don't know, I wasn't here. I was in high school in the 80s. I wasn't part of that, but somebody got away with something, building something that wasn't adequate, and that's why we've had to replace lights, locks, plumbing fixtures. But, so it doesn't really matter as far as the increased load on it. It's exponentially, it's a fraction of the cost that we would incur if we had to employ another close to 60 people or so to provide these services, to wash their clothes, to exchange their laundry, and things like that.
Okay, I have one final question. So we've referenced the $3.50 a day rate a few times over the last few minutes. I understand that the city of Lafayette has just a set dollar amount that they give to you, regardless of if it's 5 city prisoners or 5,000 city prisoners. Have we ever investigated a model like that for the parish so that our costs are fixed?
It's come up in discussions, and I think that goes toward my suggestion earlier that this administration and myself, come up with a way that we're going to do business, at least through our respective administrations, rather than leaving this in the hands of a third party.
Right. So I guess the reason why I'm asking, so this was brought to my attention earlier this week. This is a Lafayette Police Department incident report. And this happened, and I can provide this to you. It happened, let's see, last month, middle of last month. A suspect became irate. Police were called. There was an attempt to detain the suspect. They fought back, so the Lafayette PD called LPCC, asked if they would accept him. They said yes. Got over there, and upon arrival at LPCC, a sheriff's deputy refused to take the suspect, saying that that the LPCC or your office was not able to make money off the suspect, and so they wouldn't take him.
Yeah, we recently received, sounds like that same incident from a reporter, and that's the 4th such incident in 2 weeks. So there's Lafayette police officers,
correct,
who are leaking things to the media, who are then coming to us and asking us about them.
I'm not concerned so much about how it came out. My concern is there a policy that says, well, we have a set amount, we're not going to make more or less to take in inmates. He doesn't seem like he's a violent criminal, because you communicated earlier, it's violent, felony warrant, we're going to, of course, lock them up. But if we don't see that they're an immediate present risk to someone, we're not going to take them because...
No such policy.
Okay.
No such policy, no such practice. In that same incident, I'm told by my correctional staff, but we're getting statements that the officer offered to alter his affidavit to say that the suspect grabbed his gun, if that would get him in jail. This is a personal level thing between some officers and some suspects, and they're just a little bit bitter because they can't slam the cell door on them.
Right. I got you. That's all the questions I have. I would like to mark this item for wrap-up discussion, and I think, I know we kind of ran out of time whenever I talked to some of your staff. I'd love to be able to set up a meeting, and we're just kind of, and maybe go over some of these details further. So I do want to discuss this before we wrap up.
And I know we've offered to you prior, too. We
Correct.
would love for you to come and tour the facility.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
When you mark this item, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not a general amendment, it's not
He
a,
said a wrap-up item. We'll
Okay,
just,
you
we'll
got
just
it?
hold it for wrap-up.
okay, all right, let's continue. Councilman Rule. We on the bottom of page 107, okay, just remember that. Okay? No, Josh was going off of 107.
Yeah, okay,
Are you on 107?
don't start with me, man.
Okay, okay. If you're not on 107, let me wait till you get to 108 so I can keep going.
Yeah,
But
I'm on
Veronica's looking
107.
at me like, okay.
All right, contractual services.
Yeah, that's on 107.
What exactly are we contracting? You know, I know you spoke on it earlier. Can you kind of give me more details? Like, are we using, because I know you mentioned that we're saving money, like in the kitchen and things of such.
But you're referring to the additional increase? Because contractual services is a line item that encompasses more than just
Yeah,
what we're
I
asking.
think I'd like Lori
Everything is in
to answer what that encompasses, because that's not something that, I'm not calling it contractual services to.
Correct. It's
But
it's
our
titled that
CFO
way.
Okay.
However, it encompasses more than that. So you're talking about your nurses. You're talking about whether it be the trash pickup. You're talking about gas. You're talking about, there's more than just what the line item title is. So it encompasses more than that, and that's why the amount is so much, in essence. Because if somebody would say, well, $2 million for contractual services for contracts is misleading.
And we could give you a list of that. There are a lot of things that the sheriff pays for, and then we reimburse the sheriff. And I think those are all under contractual services. Yeah, most of them are. I think the biggest one, I think she mentioned the biggest ones, the nurses, and that type of stuff, but we certainly can provide you a list.
I mean,
Yes, yeah, I would appreciate it.
Right, the LPNs that are inside the facility, get paid through that fund.
Nurses total?
Okay. I'd like to have a list of that as well,
Certainly.
to see what we're providing. You know, I wish that we would have let legal take care of all this so we can know exactly what we're mandated. I know that word gets used a lot. What we're mandated to pay for. You know, we ask 5 lawyers and we'll get 6 interpretations. You know, so being that you're a lawyer, that's why you laugh, because you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You know, so that's why I think that this issue needs to be discussed on a larger scale, and to try to make sure that everything is paid that we need to pay. If we have to pay, well, then we have to pay it. But I wish we could have got legal involved to take care of this so we can know exactly what we had to do. But I'd appreciate that list if you guys can for me.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rubin. Councilman Carlson, you back at it?
I'm back at it. Thank you for, thank you. And thank you, both of you. A couple point of clarification. Warden, you said that parish prisoners cannot be required to work.
We cannot
I'm
force
sorry,
them to work.
unsentenced.
We cannot force them to work, correct?
But isn't it true that a lot of them do work and want to work, and that is a source of labor within the jail? So it's not like DOC sentenced prisoners are the only source of labor for the correctional facility.
Correct. However, they're very few and far between who want to work.
Okay. Well,
That's in America today.
it's not just the jail.
That's not just the jail.
Going back to my question about the out-of-parish mandates, if we have currently the number that you gave us is 299 open beds, I understand we have to maintain 40 or 60, as you referenced, Sheriff. We're still on track this year to spend $966,000. on out-of-parish man-days, given the current track. It might be a little less because of COVID, but if we're still housing that many prisoners in other facilities, why can't we get them tested for COVID? They're negative, transfer them back into our correctional facility to start to reduce those costs.
Yeah, we've got, it was over 100 just a couple of months ago, and we've been working with the judges to remotely conduct hearings and so forth and release them as fast as we can. I'm told if we can bring them back, we will. But our quarantine
Why couldn't we, what would stop us from bringing them back?
Quarantine space.
Okay, but if we test them, they're negative, we can't just immediately transfer them from one jail to another?
You
We have to
cannot
put them in
test them
quarantine?
immediately when they come in. You're going to have to wait that 7 to 10 days in order to test them, to then get the result, to then be able to
No,
put
I'm
them
saying in the
population.
correctional facility that they are currently in.
Well, if you could keep them in a bubble, you know, a fictional bubble from there to here, then you could, but it would be against medical advice and medical practices. You know, yeah, I understand what your point is. I think, okay, they're over there, we know they don't have COVID, or we're reasonably sure they don't because
We
they're not
test them,
sick.
they're negative, we put them in a
And we-
van and transfer them
We put
over.
them in a van. Well, you know, what's to say that they don't pick it up in the van some kind of way or during that process?
Well,
From a
that could be
deputy, they
applied to
don't-
every person, every one of your deputies coming in and out. I mean, like you said earlier, you don't know if they're going to a birthday party for their kid on the weekend
So-
and they're still coming to work.
So we're going to quarantine them, test them when they get here. Our ability to do that limits how many we can bring back.
Even if an inmate goes to the hospital right now, when they come back to the facility, they will be quarantined again. Any movement outside the facility, we cannot take the risk to spread that virus inside that facility for the community, for the inmate population, and our staff. So every time an inmate leaves the facility, when they return, they will be quarantined.
Okay.
I would like these people brought back, and I've put pressure on my correctional staff to bring them back continuously. Why can't we bring them back? Can we bring them back now? Can we do this now? And so on. But even with the minimal arrest, with the throttle down arrest, we still stay pretty full with our quarantine space to where we can't take that many back at one time.
Lori, as a point of clarification, if we mark an item for discussion at wrap-up, could we still amend the budget at that point, or is it just discussion, but the budget's at that point? Like, could there still be amendments offered at wrap-up?
Yes, we like to have all amendments done at wrap-up, so we can go back and do our recalculations and make sure everything's balanced.
So if I'm
But
not
you have
satisfied
up
after
until
meeting and
wrap-up.
everything, or after doing a little more, I could still offer an amendment beyond today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it.
Okay. All right.
And just for clarity, and piggybacking on what Lori said, you can make an amendment at wrap-up. We got public comment at that point, and you can also do it during the final adoption. They prefer not because the numbers get adjusted. So just to clarify that.
Okay. Look, I'm going to go on the record and just say I had a chance to tour the facility, and it's deplorable. And I commend you for doing what you got to do with that building. We own the building. But for you to run it under the conditions that I seen it, I don't have a problem with the 1.7 taking care of what we need. I will also go on the record to say that I know you're trying to save the parish money because we're working with Jay and we're working with our legal department for this parish council to come together with an ordinance in regards to incarceration and bookings. And we're trying, I know you're trying, and we're trying to save some money, you know, which would ultimately the money would go back into the courthouse complex fund and the other areas.
Yes.
You know, and that's the ticket, because if we don't find a way to save money and that goes back into there, then this council is going to be, you're going to be in a position to close 5th, 4th, 3rd floor. You're going to be forced to go down to 2 floors. We're going to be forced to either have to raise taxes or ask the public to pay more. So, I mean, I want to just say that it's tough times, and this parish and every department that's in here has been running lean and mean for many, 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 many years. And previous administrations, not this one, and, you know, our tax assessor hit the nail on the head. When we, in the past, we've blamed it on annexation, we've blamed it on a lot of things, but the truth and the reality is, as a government over the years, the people have voted for X millage. And over the years, we as a government have decided to play the popularity game and decide to roll it down because we don't want to raise taxes, and we're going to roll it down because it looks good for re-election. But the fact of the matter is, over the years, we've lost millions and millions of dollars. You know, and one of the things that I see with this yeah, legal got to find out this or what we obligated for. The bottom line is you hit the nail on the head. You don't give me the money to operate, you know what, Parish? I ain't operating it. Y'all go hire somebody to come do it, and I'm out. You know, we can't get to that situation. I think, without a doubt, that working together and coming up with ways to save money and put money back into the correctional facility and the courthouse complex fund, I think it's going to take that, but it's going to take a complete effort. And it's going to also take LPD and the sheriff's department and all the police officers and the marshal's office. We can't be playing dirty games. We can't be jealous of one or the other, or this one's doing that one, that one's not doing that. So we start leaking all kind of information. We start creating this big monster, and at the end of the day, I don't like it. And I got friends on all forces, from the marshal's office to the Lafayette Police Department to the sheriff's department. I know the game that's being played, okay? Well, I just sat on this council a year ago and supported Lafayette Police Department for this big raise. I supported the fire department. I support first responders. But I think it's a shame that our local law enforcement within each other are playing games and oh, this one, he didn't take the prisoner because we don't make no money. And look, at the end of the day, I'm like up to here with all that. And what I want to say for the record is, we can't say we're going to work together and we need to get together. We can't just run our mouths. We have to come to the table and figure it out and stop playing these games. I'm not saying you're playing the game. I'm not saying the war. I'm just talking in general from my standpoint as an elected official. I've been here 8 years. The courthouse has problems. The jailhouse has problems. The parish has problems across the board. And we've been putting Band-Aids and Band-Aids. The Band-Aids are coming off and we're coming up with new problems. I don't question so much the money on the 1.7 as much as I question what is the long-term goal, because we can't keep going down this road.
Well, you're right. You know, the long-term goal is to reduce our mandates. If we can reduce these mandates concurrent with this, and that's something that I believe the mayor president had alluded to earlier, that's our goal. Our goal is to reduce the incarceration rates. And look, I want to make a point, Mr. Chairman. I cut 47 positions out of the corrections division in late 2018, early 2019. I'm the only one who's come before y'all, the only, entity, department who's made those kind of drastic cuts. The police department got their raise without having to lose personnel. Other departments get things done without having to lose personnel. I put skin in the game. I cut 47 jobs. That's 47 families that had to suffer so that I could make my financial adjustments. So I want everybody in this room to know that's not all that I cut. That's just out of corrections division that I cut in that year. Right. I think it's important to know, especially from Mr. Carlson, who's a numbers guy, that you have to cut your overhead. I've done that. I've done that drastically. I don't have a receptionist right now, and I'm not filling that position because it's a salary that we can do without. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's just, look, we have to figure this out, because this courthouse situation, the jailhouse situation, the public spoke. They didn't want to raise millages on the courthouse complex fund a while back. I mean, when it's going to get tough, if you come to this parish council and you say, hey, I got to shut down 5th, 4th, and 3rd floor, and I'm going back to a 2-story jail because that's what the millage was for, you're not going to hear me complain. I'm going to say, you know what, you living within your means, and if that's what the community wants, and there's more people on the street, and there's more crime on the street because you only got 2 floors to book them, that's not on you, and it ain't on me. And if we can get that ordinance and we can save some money and dump it back into there, that's a start, right?
Yes, sir.
That's another Band-Aid.
Well, that's the beginning of a long-term solution.
Correct.
Because now you're changing the way we do things instead of trying to just keep finding funding without a material change.
Correct. Absolutely. All right. One more. All right. Councilman Carlson.
Thank you, I appreciate both of you and your questions and indulging me. So again, one point of clarification I'm curious about. So I'm looking at the Sheriff's Department's annual report shows LPCC annual arrest data. since 2000, now there's a couple years missing, we've averaged roughly the same number of arrests in Lafayette Parish, from about 11,300 to 13,500, varying in, but no drastic uptick, no drastic downturn, roughly the same. So if that's the case, bookings and arrests at LPCC have remained roughly the same. How has the need, if we've reached maximum capacity in 2018 and 2019 and we had to send all of these prisoners out of parish, like those two numbers don't line up, that we were at max capacity in those years, and so we have a 30-fold increase in cost. But our bookings in the LPCC have remained relatively consistent over the last 20 years.
But you go back to a booking is a person that is unsentenced.
Correct.
So you've got a person that's coming in on an unsentenced charge. So depending upon that charge, whether they actually can either enter a program to get released or bond out to get released, or they have to sit in the facility until they go to court. Mm-hmm. How long can that be? Well, they either have to wait until the DA's office is going to prosecute that charge or not. And then, of course, if they do, then they're still sitting in the facility until that time. So the variables of those unsentenced people actually leaving the facility, you can't put an actual concrete number to that. We can go by how many people are actually coming in, right, and then we can go by how many are unsentenced. But that, again, those people are going to vary.
This number has nothing to do with unsentenced prisoners. These are how many, I'm looking at LPCC annual arrest data.
When the arrests come in, the majority of them are unsentenced. They're coming in from an agency into our facility.
So you're saying that these numbers can remain consistent, but we're actually housing more prisoners. More people are actually being sentenced, and therefore we're having to keep them in jail.
No, sir. Currently our population has decreased, but when you're looking at percentages of your population, the majority are going to be unsentenced.
Agreed.
That is going to be consistent across
the volume of people prosecuted. Right. We'd have to reconcile it with that. An arrest can be someone who shows up for a failure to appear warrant, right, and they go through the booking and then they're immediately released. Mm-hmm. One thing that did affect that during my tenure was the Edwards v. Little lawsuit, or I call it the Little lawsuit, where there's this group out of New Orleans that sued the district judges, and they also impled me. They brought me into the lawsuit. I got out on a summary judgment in federal court eventually after about a year and a half and a lot of legal expenses. But they attacked our bond system and the fact that, well, if a judge isn't available, if you get arrested on a Friday evening, it might be Monday before you even get a bond set. So what the judges did, they said, well, we'll just set some preset bonds for people. And whenever they were sued for that, they did away with those preset bonds and said, well, everybody has to have a colloquy with a judge and a bond, for example. So, you can't just look at those numbers in a vacuum without looking at the overall context of what's going on in Lafayette Parish, and that's a good example of something that was a big game changer for us.
Okay. I'd love to look over those numbers with you, so thank you.
All right. Mayor President.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, because there were some really good points being made. The unsentenced parish prison, I appreciate all those lines of questions. But let's put an emphasis on unsentenced parish prisoners that we as a government are obligated to pay for. So I just want to take a note here. We have DAs here, we have ADA here, we have, I don't see anybody from the judiciary, but from the IDO, who we're not talking about, we referenced it earlier, from the IDO's office, from the parish government, to the DA, to the judges, to the administration, to the sheriff. We have to do exactly what was just said. Find a different way. This budget gets us through the next 12 months, but we cannot. The sheriff recognizes this. We recognize this collectively. We cannot continue to operate the same way. We want better results. We got to do something different. So unsentenced parish prisoners is a real thing, and it's hurting us. So we got to work with our judiciary. We got to work with our DA's office. Let's clear the docket. Let's clear the unsentenced part. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Moving along to page 108, top of 108. Any questions? Councilman Rubin.
I just need some clarification on line item 780000, uninsured losses.
I can help you with that.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So on uninsured losses, what we do is we pay we're self-insured for insurance purposes. We pay our claims, and then the following year, the department reimburses the risk management fund for those losses. So those are actual losses that were incurred. What we do is we, in preparation for the budget, we look at the losses that were incurred from November the 1st through April 30th, and we double it. We estimate that whatever they incurred the first half of the year, they're probably going to incur something similar the second half of the year. If they don't, we don't move that money. That you'll see in the budget ordinance, there is a paragraph on the uninsured losses line item where they are not allowed to move that money anywhere else. They can't use that money. If they don't incur those actual losses, it's returned to the fund, and if they do incur them or they need more money, we come to you during the year for a future budget amendment.
Okay.
It could be various things from equipment malfunction that, I don't want to jinx anybody, but you know, that maybe
Yeah, I was about to
flooded a cell or something,
don't do
or
that.
a slip and fall, you know, those type things.
Okay, and I want to go on the record as well, you know, as Councilman Nakhan was alluding to earlier, don't say with me, man, leave it alone, man. And say that I too feel that we need to do something, you know. I wish we'd have just had another jailhouse, me personally, but that's a whole nother topic.
Tell you
But,
what, if you get the public to come out and pay for that thing, let me know. You're going to be the new mayor down the road.
Hey, don't get Josh nerves over there, man. Okay, so, but on a serious note, you know, I understand, and I'm pretty sure the whole council up here, we all understand that there's money that needs to be allocated to you guys. The only thing that I want to say right now, and it's not directly towards you guys, it's just in general. Everything determines or depends on incarceration, all right? The more people we incarcerate, the more money we need. We need to be proactive, okay? And the one thing that's disappointing to me is that our administration feels that we need to put more money into jail systems than into our children, as far as science museums, parks and recs, and things of such. That's the only thing that it's a little disturbing to me, because if we can take care of it early in the system, we wouldn't have to build all these jailhouses, you know. So that kind of disappointed me that we decided to put more money into this than into our children and our future. So I just thought I'd put that out there right quick. But yes, I do understand we need money to take care of you as well, though.
It's a great point, you know, and I want to point out that under my administration, because we can compare the prior 4 years to when I was sheriff to my last 4 years as sheriff, my litigation, general liability claims in our jail have gone down by 50%. We had a big spate of lawsuits where inmates were getting out because they were jamming the locks and they were fighting with other inmates and beating up. I've had zero of those since I took over the jail. Our civil rights lawsuits are down from 7 under the prior 4 years to 3 in the last 4 years. You know, my overall, the number of lawsuits inmates filed relative to occurrences while in custody in general are down 60% from 25 to 10. So y'all will be happy to know that because you all get impled every time that the sheriff gets sued for something that goes on at the jail. We have vastly reduced litigation, and we have improved conditions in the jail. We are running a safer jail now than we were before. So, you know, when I came in there, there were boats on the floor. They're called boats. They're a plastic bunk that are similar to a small kayak, if you will. And you put it on the floor in the hallway, and you put a mattress on it little mattress that fits in it, and there's your cell, inmate, and you can put them in common areas, hallways, floors, things like that. So that was a way that the prior administration reduced their mandate cost. They would just have people sleeping on the floor. I won't do that because it's not safe to my staff. It's not safe to fellow inmates. It causes a bunch of litigation. We had staff outbreaks. We had prisoners that subdued deputies and put on their uniform and escorted other prisoners out of the jail. We had all kind of scandals that y'all never heard about that happened under that system. It's not a good way to go. So.
Okay. You good? Okay. Yeah, uninsured. We don't have a policy. We invest and we hope and we pray we don't have to. That's what that means. I only learned that because of my dad. Go ahead.
Councilman Rubin, just to clarify a few points. So the 1.7 million that is proposed for your consideration, that 1.7 million is not being taken away from the Science Museum. It's not being taken away from Parks and Recs. It's not being taken away from any department, quite frankly. That 1.7, correct me if I'm wrong, our CFO, Director Toops, that is coming from the Courthouse Complex Fund balance. So that money in the Courthouse Complex Fund balance cannot be used for Science Museum. It cannot be used for rec centers and things like that. That 1.7, as we discussed in this discussion earlier, is related to state mandates. So if there's an issue with that, my recommendation is to take it up with our legislative delegation, or maybe even the governor, to talk about that. Your comments are nothing more than political theater, and that's unfortunate because I've come to know you, and I've seen your heart, and I've seen your mind, and you're better than that, and you don't need to do that. The people that are putting pressure on you, they didn't even support you. Ignore them. Don't go down that road again. You don't need to do that. We're all better than that. You just heard the chair talk about working together. You heard us allude to the DA, to the judges, to the tax assessor, to the sheriff, to the administration. We all, and if the school board was in here, I'd throw you in there too. We all serve the same people. If we want a different climate, stop going down that route. That's all I got to say.
Okay. All right, after this,
yeah.
we're moving on, all right? We're not going back and forth, okay?
I did not, and just for the record, I didn't say, I know the money can't go to Parks and Rec. All I'm alluding to is, I wish we would have did a better job as trying to find the monies to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm alluding to. You know where I'm at already. You know where I'm at. You know my heart, like you said. I'm not trying to cause no division in here. You know what I'm saying? Some people get mad at me because they say I talk too good about you at times. You know what I'm saying? So don't take it like, oh, y'all not, you should have put that money elsewhere. No, I know that money cannot be moved anywhere else. I'm just making a point. I wish we would have done a better job to find monies for all of these other programs for our children. That's all I'm alluding to. I'm not worried about who supported me or don't support me. Trust me, because I got my support. Okay? So I'm good.
All right, we're good? Okay.
Can I say again, sir?
No, we're good. We're good. We're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep rolling. Look, it's very simple. If we're going to fix everything and the public wants better and the community wants better and we want better everything across the board, I'm going to go back to you're saying you got to pay to play. If we're not going to pay to play, we're going to live within our means, and some services going to be cut, and some people are not going to be happy, and there's going to be more crime on the street, but it's nobody to blame. When a community wants to do better, then we all have to step up to the plate. The investors, the money people in the city, the big businesses in the parish, if you want better things and you want administration to find the money, the parish doesn't have nothing, $50,000. We took 1.7 out of the courthouse complex fund for this. We're going to fix the parking garage with that money. Eventually, those funds are going to be kaput. They're going to be done. It's going to happen. So I can wish, and I wish we had better things, but until we pay to play, and until the community wants better and demands better, it's going to be what it's going to be. period. Moving on. Page 283, we will discuss the 5-year capital outlay. That's page 283, gentlemen.
There's one item on page 283. It's number 63,
Okay.
automated security system.
Yep. What about it?
That's one item for the jail. That's it.
That's the
On
only
that-
one?
That's on that
I
page.
believe-
Don't look at anything else.
And I remember taking a tour of the jail, and y'all security system definitely needed an upgrade.
What number, Lauren?
This is number 63 on page 283.
Oh, wait, I'm being corrected that there might be a couple of other things.
Yeah, there's some
Please-
other
Please go
LPC.
ahead, Paula.
The shower drainage as well.
Shower drainage, cell room modification, no, 61.
All right, you can look at a couple of
68.
things.
Okay, shower
63 and
drainage.
68.
Okay, Councilman Carlson wants to question the
Can you
shower.
elaborate more on what the automated security system upgrades are?
So basically, that is the camera and what we call the key fob system. So instead of an actual key that you have to go and unlock each door, it's an automatic key fob, so it's electronic. So
Wasn't
you-
the system completely upgraded in 2015, or is this
No,
on
sir.
top of
The
that?
only thing that was upgraded in 15, we had additional cameras
Okay.
in our restricted housing areas.
Got it.
And that was to help view the offenders that are there
Right.
for litigation purposes as well.
Perfect.
and
Thank you.
For safety.
So it looks like number 63 through 68, is that correct?
69.
69?
A cooling tower.
That's the courthouse.
That's the courthouse.
Oh,
63 through 68.
68, yeah. All this money here is, we had budgeted, it's all capital. I'm assuming we're taking that out of the,
Except for the shower drainage.
where's the funds coming from, these capital improvements?
So the parish doesn't have a dedicated capital fund like the city does.
Why?
So this, because the city voters voted on that. So this
Imagine that.
is coming from either the jail millage or the courthouse complex millage. It's coming from that millage money.
Okay. All right. Councilman Gibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see more than one or two or three or four projects potentially in here. I mean, it actually starts, if I'm reading this correctly, on item 58, and it goes down, and I see at least 13 projects, whether
That are
they're funded or
existing.
not, they're in there as a need where we've got some issues over the next 5 years. And I think the point that I'm trying to make is, and it goes back to what you said earlier, Sheriff, we're talking about an antiquated building, built in 1986, that has been modified year after year after year. And you have done a good job doing what you're doing. When I toured that jail, I was dumbfounded with what I saw. I can't believe you've got your people in there under those conditions, much less those inmates. You're doing a heck of a job. And look at this list. That tells me we've got an old building that we're trying to make the best conditions that we can for what the mandates require. And I applaud you, Sheriff, and I'm looking over here at the staff. Great job.
The staff.
Great job. I wouldn't want to be in that condition. I don't want to be the inmate or the the officer. Neither side of that coin.
I thought you wanted one of those boats you're going to bring to the camp for the kids to sleep on.
Guess what? When I toured those boats that he's talking about, those beds in the halls were there. And I could not imagine somebody wanting to sleep on that. But, you know, that's the best of conditions. I applaud you for looking outside the box to do what you can. You have done a tremendous job with your cost savings. I applaud you for that. You've got your back up the wall here, guys, and you know I really applaud you for that. You know, I look at it; it's like it's an elephant in downtown Lafayette. Shame on us for that kind of facility. Yes, it was built in 1986. It was probably state of the art, but when I look at the needs, I mean, unbelievable. You have a security entrance where you bring in your inmates, and I forgot what you call that, but I remember the tour.
Sallyport.
A what?
Sallyport.
Yeah, Sallyport. Thank you. I knew that.
Welcome.
But it's so, you know, to me, it presents a danger, not only to you, your officers and all, but the whole community. It's not a secure facility the way we would like it to be.
It's not secure at all.
Yes, right. And then when I see we have electrical issues, Some of the things I saw in there that day, I was appalled to think that it meets any kind of code. I'm surprised we haven't been evicted, you know, from that facility. And it's not your fault, Sheriff, or this staff's. The funds are not there. What are we going to do? There's only so much blood in that turnip. And I think you have squeezed it, and I applaud you for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Like, and the other thing, too, that's hard to realize is it's hard for the public, people that don't break the law, right? People that don't get arrested. It's hard for them to want to invest in a jail because their mentality is you committed the crime, you should be sleeping on the floor. You shouldn't, you know, but unfortunately, the law is not written that way, and there's mandates, and you have to take care of them, and you have to feed them, and you have to make sure all of these things there. So that's what the tough sell was when you try to raise a millage, is because most people say, I don't care about that jail. I don't go to that jail. Well, I don't sleep in that jail.
It's a very appealing argument, but what happens is a federal judge comes in and takes over your jail.
Yeah.
You know, Marlon Gusman, the Orleans Parish Sheriff, just now last week got his jail back after years of being under consent decree. And that cost that parish millions of dollars for the oversight, because a judge just turns it over to some contractor who has a staff who exercises oversight until you comply with everything that the judge says. And that's what we're preventing here is us being guilty of civil rights violations. Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Maricopa County, Arizona, the one with the tent city, I've been there. I toured that. Met the man. You know, Maricopa County has more people in it. When I was there, it had more people. It had almost 5 million people, residents of that county. That's more than the whole state of Louisiana. Yeah. But they paid millions upon millions of dollars every year in lawsuits. Yeah. For people, women losing their babies, inmates losing limbs due to staff and so forth. But they're a deeper pocket. They could afford it, and they liked him until they voted him out anyway, because he's out now. Yeah.
No, and at the end of the day, I believe in what you're doing, and I know you need it. So I wasn't trying to say that nobody should. I'm just saying the perception, the reality is.
I'm talking to the public who's listening, because it's so appealing.
Right.
I talk to groups all the time, Chairman, that they need, they need to be in the harshest conditions possible. It might be personally appealing to me, but it's not the way to do it, because these same people are very fiscally conservative.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You're doing the best you can with what you got. That's the bottom line. Councilman Gill, you done? Oh.
Sheriff, you're going to make this one easy, because I was getting ready to refer to New Orleans and the takeover, and I often question how close are we to being in that kind of situation. And I don't necessarily need an answer, but I think just from this conversation, we see that we are probably teetering on that takeover, and I would hope not.
I wouldn't go so far. Since taking over in 2016, I've run the jail in a workmanlike fashion with what I have. And if the voters of this parish gave me a tent city and said, Sheriff, that's your jail, I would run it in a workmanlike fashion. There's never been, and I've never meant to sound like I'm complaining about the physical plant. I'm merely trying to inform of what we're dealing with and to address, the points brought up by Mr. Carlson, for example, about the plumbing upgrades and so forth. Those were upgrades that had to be made because it wasn't built right the first time, and because we've existed in an overcrowded condition for the capabilities of that facility. We should have about 350 inmates in that facility to properly use the infrastructure that's there. Okay, that should be the capacity, to be fair to LPCC. So, if we go with your suggestion, not overburdening ourselves, that's what we would end up with. We're not going to be hauled into federal court, anytime soon, hopefully. I don't see us teetering on the verge of it. We have serious problems. We have a grinder is that grinder going forward?
You'll be happy to know, August 24th, they are supposed to be on site to start with the installation. That is a project that I have been struggling with since 2009.
Correct. So, that just rolls over from one thing to another. Now, a grinder's not a fun, cool kind of a thing to have, but when the inmates are fishing, things down the toilets and hiding contraband and trying to get it to each other through the plumbing and everything, we have to have a grinder to grind things up. It's just something that we need. So thank y'all for eventually bringing it.
And listen, a follow-up to the grinder. What about the roof? Have we finished the roof? I know I've been hearing about the roof for some time.
It's still pending.
Still pending?
Still pending, yes, sir.
Why?
The project it's completed. They still have follow-up that they have to perform.
They almost burned it down.
Several
we almost
times.
got a new jail. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to comment to your comments, Councilman Gilbo. While the conditions, yes, I wouldn't call them deplorable because I take pride in that facility day in and day out. I work with a fellow staff, and they work tirelessly for a population that, yes, have committed a crime, but you know what? Those are our citizens that are going to come back into our community at one time or another. And we have established accreditations that we can continue on a day-in-day basis, that we meet certain standards on a national level. Our jail is accredited and our medical department is accredited. That speaks volumes, considering we're the only facility in the state of Louisiana.
And don't get my comments misunderstood. I absolutely feel that you are doing a yeoman of a job. My concern as a layperson, as a citizen, when I walked in there, my comment was, and I said it to staff, this is deplorable, and I'm not going to back off on it.
Your comments are well received.
It
Correct.
needs
Yes.
updates, it needs improvements. And until, like the mayor said and others have said, until we come together, our chairman said it as well, we need to work together and see what we can do to make this a better situation for all.
Correct.
And you're right, Mr. Chair, the citizens have not been into this facility. As a citizen, when I walked in, I could not believe what I saw. And yes, you have done a good job. I'm aware of the certifications and all. Congrats. I stand by that, but there are a lot of issues. And we cannot just push that under the carpet and say, hey, we're in good shape. It's not deplorable. In my book, it's deplorable. Thanks, Mr.
Fair
Chair.
enough, Councilman. And your comments, again, are well received.
Okay. Thank you, guys. We got to get rolling here. We got people waiting. We're on, everybody's good with 283? All right, let's now move to the next section of Adult Correction Center to discuss will be 221 capital, begin on 303.
On page 303, you'll see the section highlighted. It's Fund 262, Correctional Center Fund.
Okay. 303.
Too many pages in this book.
You found it? 303, Fund 262, Correctional Center. Anything? Any questions? Councilman Gilbo.
Just a quick comment. 262 further points out my concerns that I'm raising. Ditto, exclamation point. Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing anything on 303. Next section, Manning table. Anything on the Manning table?
Nothing on the Manning table for
Okay.
the jail.
All right. Any comments from the public?
No, sir.
Okay. Sheriff, any closing remarks? Pardon, you good?
You know, I want to thank you all for diving into this with me. Thank you for the work that you're going to do. Thank you for stepping up and being elected officials. You know, y'all volunteered, you raised your hand, and you fought to be where you are today. And it's a difficult job. You know, people tell me all the time, man, I wouldn't want your job. You know, it's a difficult job, especially in this day and time. I love my job. Absolutely love it. You know, so, you know, I hope that y'all love your job. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying the challenge. And again, thank you for the questions and the dialogue.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you.
All right, next, I'm going to go out of line here because we have a coroner's office here, and he's one person, and I just want to go through it real quick. So I'm going to go use my chair privilege. Can the coroner's office come up, please?
The coroner is a parish mandate. It generates some fees through CECs and cremation permits. And then the rest of the funds come from the parish general fund.
Okay. Any opening comments, coroner's office?
The First Amendment.
Can you state your name and title?
Oh, I'm Kenneth O'Dney. I'm
Okay.
coroner of Lafayette Parish.
Okay.
I'm presenting two amendments. The first one's for revenues for Ida Parish death and autopsy fees. Right now, we want the municipalities to pay for the autopsies. Basically, instead of just the parish, instead of, and right now it's about $1,800 in autopsy. Right now, everything's getting billed to the parish, and we'd like some of them to go to the outside, like Karen Crowe Scott, whatever.
That's what you're asking, that's what you would like? I don't, can we do that?
You have an amendment for that? I believe we are passing it around right now. Attorney, could you give us a summary of the amendment?
Attorney Seminole, Budget Manager. What we're doing, we're actually adding some revenue, like the coroner said that during our budget process, that this account number wasn't created yet. So now we're adding it. We actually want to add these revenues for next year's budget.
And the total revenue is?
$20,000.
Thank you.
20, okay, so help me explain, I don't understand, and I don't think the rest of us do. Explain this to me like a school just started, I'm in kindergarten. So, the coroner's office, when basically it's 100% parish funded, but what you're saying is the municipalities and the city of Lafayette?
So I'm going to defer to the coroner to go into the details on that. It is a parish mandate, but apparently he is charging some of the municipalities for some of the autopsies.
Right. We want to charge some of the municipalities outside of the city of Lafayette.
And we haven't done that before, is
No.
what you're saying. So you're doing that now, so you have an additional revenue coming in.
Correct.
Did this parish council pass an ordinance to do that, or how do you do that? How do you charge another municipality? I mean, if they're good with it, I guess they're paying the fees, right? They're paying it?
It's state law.
Okay, state law says that you can charge, the
Yes.
coroner's office can charge another municipality. Okay, so this amendment here is to reflect the fees that he's collected from the municipalities into this.
Correct.
And that's what
Correct.
you're asking to,
Yes.
for us to
Correct.
make an amendment, to offer an amendment.
Yes.
So Kearney, would that decrease the amount of money necessary from the parish general fund?
Yes, correct. It's
How
actually
much in the general fund will we save?
$20,000.
What? So we got 70,000. Well, we working now.
No.
We're working now.
No, wait, we got another.
Wait,
coming.
Kearney's already taken it back, don't.
Oh, you excited?
Not all, just a little bit.
All right, okay, so
That's a second amendment.
someone, I give you the first one then. Okay, all right. Somebody would like to make a general amendment?
I offer.
Councilman Guilfoyle offers the general amendment.
Can I ask a question before I know how to proceed?
Yeah, Councilman Carlson.
Mr. O'Donnell, so just to clarify, the parish general fund is covering all of the expenses for autopsies
Correct.
currently. And you want to make it where the other municipalities, if there is an autopsy that's required from my district, for example, within the city limits of Youngsville, the city limits of Youngsville is going to pay your office
Correct.
for this. While at face value, I like the idea because it almost doubles gives us 50% increase in general fund. Isn't everyone paying parish property taxes that are going to fund your office? So they would be paying parish property taxes, and then they would be on the hook for the cost of the autopsy. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're not.
Okay, so that is correct.
That is correct.
Okay. That's what I needed to know. I object to the amendment.
Okay. We have an objection by Councilman Carlson. So let me, he brought up a point. So the coroner's office has a parish-wide millage.
No.
No.
The coroner's office is funded from the parish general fund.
Okay.
Parish-wide taxes.
Right. Parish-wide.
But it's not a specific line item of the coroner's office. I'll put your mic on because here's the way I see it. And it's nothing against the municipalities.
Right.
I'm born and raised in Scott. If we don't have a millage that's parish-wide for the coroner's office, and yet we're supposed to pay the coroner's office out of the general fund, which municipalities have annexed so much property and have taken the revenue that has depleted our general fund? So therefore, we don't have the funds potentially to keep basically giving them service when we haven't received the money.
Does the money that's in the parish general fund, does the
sources of revenue in the parish general alimony millage,
right?
And the unincorporated sales tax.
So they are paying general alimony parish-wide. If I live in the city limits of Lafayette, they're contributing dollars to the parish general fund. Therefore, I don't want to double tax them by making these municipalities pay for the autopsy fees.
I see what you're saying about double tax, but I don't see it as a double tax.
It won't be coming out of the parish, it'll be coming out of the other municipality.
Correct, but they're getting that money from their residents, so they are paying general alimony property taxes, and they are paying, in various forms, tax revenues that go to the city of Youngsville or the city of Karen Crow that will then be going to the coroner's office to pay for these autopsies.
Can I ask a question? On the
Yeah,
autopsies, I'm wondering, certainly you don't do an autopsy for everything, so why do you do an autopsy for somebody that is deceased from the city of Scott?
If you're concerned, it depends on the pay. If it's a child, you do it. There's certain coroner's cases, if you think there's a crime, you do it.
So it's not everybody
Not
that's,
everybody gets autopsied.
I was just curious.
So, yeah, so it's not an everyday
No.
do it.
No, I know, we're talking about $20,000 parish-wide.
Right.
It might be 1 or 2 autopsies. And you said the cost is $1,800?
Yes, sir. 1875, I believe.
Have you talked to the other municipalities? Do they know that this is coming and what your plans are?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Can I interject?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
might be able to help clear this up. I'm Melinda Phelps. I'm the controller. What's happened historically is that the city of Lafayette has paid the coroner's office for their fees, because for their autopsy fees. But then the rest of the money, and whether it was unincorporated or not, the parish covered those autopsy fees. But really, the autopsy fees should have only been for the unincorporated areas. Historically, the small cities, Karen Crow, Broussard, should have paid their autopsies. And
I think
so-
I understand, and I'm going to withdraw my objection, because if I think I'm understanding, thank you for helping me. Like I said, sometimes we need the beginning of school level explanation. But if parish-wide is funding your office, above and beyond expenses, like someone getting killed and there needs to be an autopsy, is going to be funded by that municipality in line with what the city of Lafayette has done, and we're just extending that to the other municipalities.
Correct. And they have been notified. Keith has been working with the other municipalities, and they're all on board.
How many autopsies have you done in other municipalities the last year or the last 2 years?
You have it broken down, Keith?
Handful?
Keith Thomas, Lafayette Coroner's Office.
Thanks.
It's probably for your municipalities, we don't get very many autopsies from them.
Right.
So usually about 3 or 4
Total?
total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's very few.
Very few, okay. That helps clarify things. Okay. Note, Veronica left.
Back to the general amendment.
Okay. Joseph, just make a note that Councilman Carlson withdraws his objection, and it goes in as a general amendment. Is there another amendment?
I believe there is. Kearney, is there a corresponding amendment?
He's taking our money back.
Okay, I'm going to object to that. You can't take it back.
Hey, we're back. Oh.
Okay,
Just taking a small amount back. We're actually increasing their telecom line item by $4,000. I think they explained it, they have a new phone system or something that needs to be added.
Okay. Anybody want to offer that? It's $4,000. Offer a general amendment by Councilman Tabor. Any objections? Seeing none, that'll go in as a general amendment. Anything else on 108? Gentlemen, fellow council members? Operating expenses? No questions. Okay. Next section will be capital. Any capital?
No capital.
Okay. And Manning table. Anybody has any questions? That's on 326 to 327. Any questions on the Manning table? Seeing none. Okay. Any comments from the public?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Coroner's Office. All right, next we're going to bring up the volunteer fire department.
If we can go to my PowerPoint, my pie chart. I want to backtrack a little bit. This is not before you today, but I want to make sure that you know. So the parish is funding, of the total fire department that is primarily the city, the parish does have some funding that goes to the fire department. In particular, if you look on page 55, that is the city parish allocation. The parish general fund pays 6% of the administration of the fire department, and that equals about $48,700. And it pays 6% of the communications division, and that equals about $71,500. The parish general fund also pays 26% of the hazmat division, which equals about $42,000, and the percentage of the hazmat division is based on the number of responses of the hazmat team in the unincorporated areas versus in the city of Lafayette. Other than that, for the fire department, the main functions come from the 2% fire insurance premium, which that money is, it is paid through residents of Lafayette Parish and their homeowners insurance. It goes to the state, and then the state dictates to the parish general fund how we divvy up that money. And we really, we will adopt a resolution. And when you get that resolution, I encourage you all to pay attention to it, because that resolution, it lists a service area of each volunteer fire department and the fire departments in the various municipalities. And that resolution with the service area will determine how the 2% fire insurance premium is divvied up. So you'll get the resolution for the service area, and about 6 months later, they will get the 2% fire insurance premium. So it's important to pay attention to that, and it's particularly important if any of the smaller municipalities have any disagreement with the information on that resolution. The time to voice that disagreement really is when that resolution is adopted, and not later on when we get the fire insurance rebate check, because that's the time that we have to distribute the money. Also in the parish general fund, the parish general fund gives an allowance to the various volunteer fire departments throughout the parish. It gives a fixed amount, and we enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the various volunteer fire departments.
What's that fixed amount proposed to be?
We'll see it in a minute.
Okay. All right,
when we get there, we'll see it.
I see it.
And for a couple of the volunteer fire departments, we actually fund a part-time employee, a limited amount of hours. I believe it's required that they work during the day, during the weekday, just to try to encourage those areas that have a hard time staffing people to get somebody in to staff that volunteer fire district. So you'll see that when we get to that on page, I guess it's probably on page 162. And that is about all I have to say about that.
Okay. Mr. Champagne, you want any opening remarks before we get started on page 161?
Brian Champagne, I represent the fire chiefs in the parish. I don't have any opening remarks as far as, we appreciate everything that y'all have given us in the past, and we, look forward to continue to working with y'all to find other options and to advance the funding that, we desperately need.
No, absolutely. Working with you guys for 8 years and definitely understanding the situation. A lot of people don't realize, but the Lafayette Parish Fire Department makes up of all municipalities, including the city of Lafayette, and that's what gets you Lafayette Parish Fire Rating. Lafayette Parish Fire Rating went up recently to a 6. They're coming back. Potentially, we haven't done absolutely pecan nothing, which we could be going up to a 7. And, the city of Lafayette is healthy and strong. I think their rating is still a 2 or 3, something like that. So, a 2, So, we do have the fire district that was created. It doesn't have any funding in it. Do you have that listed in the budget anywhere with a zero balance, Lafayette Parish Fire District or nothing? Okay, so if and when in November, a portion of the CREATE funds would be going to Lafayette Parish Fire Protection, in which the city of Lafayette would receive money, and all the municipalities that make up the, at that point, I guess, then they would, if it were to pass, we would have a line item in there, right?
If that were to pass, I would probably recommend that we open what we call a special revenue fund.
Okay.
Instead of funding the VFDs from the parish general fund, we would put that funding into a special revenue fund where that tax goes in, and then any monies that you budget would go out. That tax is a parish-wide tax throughout the entire geographical boundaries of the parish, so it would be governed by you.
Okay. And it's key to note that the intent of the parish council is still to contribute what we have from the general fund as much as we can, and let this supplemental income from the rededication give them what they need to improve the rating in the unincorporated areas of the parish. So I just want to make it clear that the intent is not to just give them whatever the tax would create and take away what we're giving them in the general fund, because they need every bit of what they're getting in the general fund on top of whatever we could get, which helps the city of Lafayette and all the other municipalities with employment and helps our rating and can hopefully fix our tanker and water truck. So that's the long-term goal. So just letting you know, FYI.
Yeah, the parish general fund is limping along, though. It is definitely spending more than it's taking in. Thank goodness. Can't really identify why the unincorporated sales taxes are actually higher than what they had been. So we can thank God for that. So you might have a little bit more sales tax revenue than what we actually anticipated, but it is spending more than what it has coming in. So at some point, something in the parish general fund is going to have to give. So
Right. Okay. Let's get started. At the bottom of page 161.
So I also want to mention for some of you new guys that years ago, and Brian can help me with this, years ago the parish purchased fire vehicles, some sort of
Tankers.
Tankers,
They
okay.
bought each department over a 3 or 4 year period. Each department got one truck, and it was a rotation. They bought 2, then they bought 2, and then they bought 3 or something like that. So everybody got one tanker, and that's been going on 20 years. So these trucks are starting to be 20 years old, and I know there's been some budget revisions come across for repairs and maintenance of these tankers that is costing, you know, the government money.
So this first line item in the parish-wide fire protection, where it says transportation, that is for those vehicles to come to Lafayette Consolidated Government's Vehicle Maintenance Division and get some sort of repair work that whatever might be necessary. You can see the amount spent last year was in excess of $60,000, and we're only budgeting about $23,000, which is trying to keep the budget at what it had been. But as Brian mentioned, we know those vehicles are getting old, and this has been a continuing problem.
So if they have $63,000 or $30,000 in repairs this year, what happens? They have to pay the
They have to
difference?
come back to you for a budget amendment or find the money elsewhere.
Okay. You won those awards, you're going to find that money for them now, right?
The award doesn't allow me to print money.
161. You're going to have to find that money. All right. That was.
And Mr. Chair, one thing to note, when you talk about the fire district, you may recall that that was formed through and the governing body of the fire district was the city parish council. So we may need to look at that to make the governing body now for the fire district the parish council.
The parish council.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Add that to the list to consider at a parish council meeting coming up or something. We'll get with legal. Okay. Councilman Gilbo.
Mr. Chair, I know that some of you young folks up here move at a very fast pace, but us older folks move at a little slower pace. I'm still on page 55, and I have a question for you. So if you will indulge me.
What's 55?
55 is the city parish allocation.
I understand, but I just have just a quick question.
Sure.
And I guess it's for you, Brian. I'm on the hazmat issue where we're charged only maybe 26% for calls outside the city. My question is, when that truck leaves the station, is it an automatic bill, or is it when they actually go on site and do service or provide service? Because sometimes you will be called out the station, you go into the incident, and they are called back and say, return to station. So
Correct.
do we?
I'm going to refer to either the fire chief or the hazmat chief.
Well, I can,
'Cause I'm not sure how
accounting-wise,
they
I can
account
tell,
for it.
yeah, accounting-wise, that would be up to me. And we take the hazmat division, the cost of that division, it's not the cost of any additional materials or the cost to use the truck. We take the cost of the hazmat division and we allocate it between the city and the parish based on the number of hazmat calls, and that's it. That's.
Well, oh, so it doesn't matter if it's outside the city or not, then is what you're telling me?
No, if it's inside the city, then when we do the allocation, if there are 9 calls in the city and 1 call in the unincorporated, then that allocation is going to change to 90-10, and the parish would only pay 10 and the city would pay 90.
And I'm on that same page. My question is, when, and this is probably the fire chiefs need to answer this, when that truck leaves the station, chief, is it an automatic bill and they're going to, let's say, to Carencro or in the outlining area for a call? That truck leaves the station. Is that when it triggers? Because it's been recorded as a hazmat unit.
I'm kind of confused here. Okay, what are we talking about here? If we're talking about hazmat. Right. Hazmat is under the control of the Lafayette Fire Department. Okay. Now, we're talking about something different from that with a dispatch for the volunteers, then that's something that she can explain. But if you said Lafayette hazmat, there's only one hazmat unit in
correct
Lafayette Parish, which is under the control of the Lafayette Fire Department.
And I'm assuming that's the one that we're talking about that goes into the unincorporated area.
No. You got 7 tanker trucks. Okay, you've got a tanker truck for each volunteer fire department. That's what Brian was alluding to earlier. Okay. That we purchased. Those trucks are 17 years old. And so that's where the $63,000 is costing us some problems, because you're only budgeting $22,000 a year.
For repairs.
But you're trying to keep those 17-year-old trucks operating under that budget.
Okay, that cleared it up. Again, like I said, us older folks, we're a little slower, Chief.
No problem.
Okay, thanks. I'm okay. I'm on the same page now.
Okay, you're all right. Anything else on 161 at the bottom? Okay, let's move to 162. Okay, Laurie, got a question. How was the funds determined for each one of these municipalities? I see some, I know Milton and Judice are strictly volunteers. I know Scott and Broussard have some towns, Carencro have some. So how is that expropriate? How did we come up to that?
That number has been adjusted a time or two since I've been in Lafayette for the last 10 years, and it's been adjusted based on pretty much what the parish general fund can afford. It was a larger number.
Yes, ma'am. It was a larger number. And Kevin, I can tell you what we fund for, and you may know for the benefit of everybody else. You'll see Doosan at $57,000. We pay for 1 part-time person for them.
Okay. Is that why they're at 57?
Correct. And Judice and Milton have 2 part-time personnel that are funded. And the hours of it have decreased over the last few years based on the budget. We started out at 2 people, 28 hours, and it was decreased to fit in line with the budget over the last couple of years. So Judice and Milton are having 2 part-timers. Doosan has 1. No, everybody else is at 42,188, and we don't have any part-timers that are funded through the parish.
I don't even see anything for Broussard.
It's on the page 161 at the bottom. It's on the last line item on 161.
Gotcha, okay, I overlooked it. Okay, so that determined 50, okay, that's those part-time people that we employ.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, got a question. Councilman Rubin.
I just want to thank Chief for them $10,000 you're charging us, man. Only charging us $10,000. The second item?
That's going to change in time.
Oh. I take my thank you back, man.
All right. Councilman Carlson.
I'm looking at the bottom of page 161.
Give me a line item, give me a number.
It's second from the bottom, 76540-0. What's the parish-wide communications officer?
The parish pays for a percentage of the communications officer that is staffed to dispatch the volunteers. At all times, they have multiple dispatchers, and part of the salary is taken from the parish to fund the communications division in order for them to dispatch us and handle all of our communication needs.
Okay. And is this an additional person, or you would already have that person working?
No, that's an additional person that we share.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Chief, I'll get with you later. I know I was out of town when you had.
No, that was just to make sure we were having we were going to be here for the budget hearing. That's what the text was about.
Oh, okay. All right. I was out of town. I wanted to get back with you. I just got back in. So it was about this? We good?
Yes.
Okay.
It was to make sure that we were on the agenda.
Oh, yeah. We can't forget you. Got to make sure you're on the agenda. All right. Nothing on 162. Let's go to the next section, Volunteer Fire Department. Is there any capital? Probably not. We ain't
There
got
is
nothing.
no capital and no manning tables.
That's pretty simple. Any closing remarks, Mr. Champagne and Chief Benoit?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Listen, I've always been trying very hard to take care of the unincorporated area, and not just because I live out there, but because there's other key factors. And you know, a while back, Scott had said they weren't going to respond, and you know, everybody kind of got mad at them. But we can't expect those municipalities, guys, to dig into their city funds to fund a parish-wide fire protection, and then when they leave their community to come put out a fire in an unincorporated area, God forbid they have another fire break out in their town. They've just left their whole community vulnerable. So, I mean, this is a serious issue. We failed with the unincorporated area tax, and I'm hoping that since everybody pays pretty much, if we can find a way to help the city of Lafayette so that they respond. And you're right, they should be getting more than $10,000. Just unfortunately, that's all we have. But if this thing were to change, Chief and I, along with the municipalities, we want to use that money to make our fire department parish-wide strong across the board. From equipment to personnel to training. Training is a big part of it, water. I know the Water District North and South is talking about expanding some water in the unincorporated area. We are talking to them about running bigger line to have fire hydrants so we can get some credit there. So I think the conversation needs to continue with those Water District Norths and continues in South to push for more as development comes in an unincorporated area for them to keep pushing those water lines that way, but at least make the water lines where that fire hydrant is actually,
You can actually use it.
you can actually use it, you know. So that's what we're working on, and I'm sorry it's not happening as fast as I would like it, but it takes time to get these things done.
We
But
appreciate
we're
everything
behind
y'all
you guys,
do.
and thank y'all for what y'all do and the sacrifices that y'all provide. So,
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one. All right. Moving to the next department, we're going to go to Register of Voters. Ms. Charlene.
The Registrar of Voters is another parish mandate. You guys hear me say that quite a bit.
Parish seems like it has a lot of mandates. I'm just saying.
The parish does have a lot of mandates, but you know, the good thing about the Registrar of Voters, it's one of the few mandates where the state law gives you a lot more dictates and information. So while you're mandated to fund the jail and the courthouse and the DA, and you wonder, well, how many people do I have to pay for that? When it comes to the Registrar of Voters, state law tells you if your population is this much, then you need to have 7 people or 8 people or whatever it is. But they give you a lot more rules and guidelines that help us to budget the registrar of voters and still abide by all the state mandates that we have to abide by, because the law is really identified and spelled out. So
Got you.
all the people in there we have to pay for, and she's not asking for extra people.
No,
I was going to.
there you go, there you go.
Well, we might have some early voting situations,
Yeah,
where we
absolutely.
choose to do some early voting centers. But as far as our regular office expenses, it's one of my favorite parish mandates because it's just easy to identify.
All right, Ms. Charlene, any opening comments before we get started?
No, I'd like to thank you for providing for the office as usual. Of course, we're going to have 2 new early voting sites for the presidential election in November. I will need advertisement done from the council because I don't have funding to advertise. So we would have to pursue that. And then, of course,
Do we need to pursue that today? Is there anything like an amendment or something we can do?
No,
No.
I'm gonna work with Charlene. I want to make sure the city has agreed to fund the early voting site at the Martin Luther King, and then 2 other municipalities. I want to give them credit.
Broussard and Youngsville.
Broussard and Youngsville has agreed to fund the
East Regional Library.
East Regional Library site for at least this year.
Correct.
And we might have some follow-up budget amendments that we will come with you, and we will put in that advertising. We probably need to do that sooner rather than later.
Well, within the next couple of weeks, we're having an emergency meeting with the Secretary of State and legislatures, of course, of the COVID issues. We will have early voting again for 2 weeks. The dates are not final. The original date for early voting was October 20th through the 27th, Tuesday to Tuesday. But with the COVID issue, we're not going to have the COVID applications to mail in, so they're going to extend early voting and extend the hours of early voting. So that will have to be advertised, for the election. So I would probably get with you about that.
Yeah, we want to make sure that
It
we
won't be
get all
normal
that done.
hours. It'll be different,
Okay.
like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning until 7 or 8 at night. So they're working on that at this time.
Okay.
But I cannot tell you, when it is.
All right, no problem. Just get with us when that happens. Page 107, guys, in the middle. Any questions? Middle of 107. Okay, I'm not seeing any at this time, and there is no capital. Manning table 326. Any questions on the Manning table? Okay, seeing none.
Okay. I think there was isn't there a revision for the early voting sites? Today, right now? Okay. Because we'll have to do, of course, we need money.
Okay, just get with us, let us know. When we get with Veronica and see when we need to put that on the parish council, no? Or we need to do this now? What are we doing?
Kearney, do we have those?
Kearney shaking his head, yeah, no?
You have amendments for her today? No,
No amendments for her right now?
not today.
Okay, when y'all do have some, please bring it back to us.
Charlene, along those lines of the early voting site, you're saying that you need additional staff? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, currently, I do have a position that is vacant.
Okay.
And I think the funding for it is minimal, if I'm not mistaken. And to go through civil service, I'd have to get your permission,
Gotcha.
of course, to hire.
The reason why I'm asking, when we had originally started the discussions of the early voting site, you said you felt like you could maintain, now I know it went from 1 to 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
You said you felt like you could handle the additional staff with the current, the additional location with the current staff that
Well,
you had.
what we do is use early voting commissioners who have been certified through the clerk of court, okay?
Right.
That funding, their salaries will come from the Secretary of State.
Okay.
And the employees will get paid, and it's an election expense, so whoever puts the election on.
Got it. So
will-
it's not salaries in your office per se, it might come
I
through.
do have a vacant position for my office that needs to be filled.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure the funding is still there, because I'm possibly going to start that this week.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Okay, thank you, Ms. Charlene.
Thank y'all.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, county agent. Mr. Charles.
County agent or assessor?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Okay,
So-
it is assessor. I'm sorry.
For the assessor, it is a parish mandate. A lot of what you will see is the assessors, there are some expenses of the assessor's office that, according to Louisiana revised statutes, the parish must pay, and then the parish in turn bills the other taxing authorities in the parish. So the parish might pay the bill, and then the original bill for the assessor, and then it will send a supplemental bill to all the different tax collecting bodies, school board, sheriff, municipalities, and it'll get reimbursed part of that money back. So, right, so that's a lot of what you'll see throughout the budget, when you see the mapping expenses and that. Other than that, we fund the assessor, I don't think we fund any operations in the assessor's office other than those reimbursable expenses.
Okay. Mr. Conrad, you want to open any comments? You good? Okay, all right. Page 132 through 135, we started 132. Anybody got something? Okay.
So I was hoping to find out from the assessor about some of the millages coming up, because the assessment levels may have
changed,
gone down. I was kind of curious how the millage works. If the assessment level went down, if we levy the same millage, then that means our revenue goes down. Do we know yet?
We do. That will be delivered today to Mayor President and Veronica. The parish total assessed value, taxable value, is down 6.6%. City of Lafayette is down 4.4%.
So is that pretty much, our millage money going to go down that much?
It will.
Does the council have the ability to increase that above what the voters approved?
Yes.
And that's without a roll forward, right?
That is correct. Okay. Let me explain how that works.
It's different.
It's different. The last time this happened was in the mid-1980s.
Okay, but before you go there, because I want to hear that, does anybody have anything between pages 132 through 135 or 233, operating expenses?
And that's pretty status quo, his budget.
Right, exactly.
Right,
That's why I'd like to make sure we're good with that and we can move on, and that way he can make his closing remark, because he has no capital and we ain't worried about the manning table. Are we good with that, guys, Parish Council? Okay, so go ahead. This will be your comments.
And I didn't bring the numbers with me. I didn't know we were getting into that at this point. But
sorry, I put you on the spot.
It's all right. I don't mind. Last time, as I was saying, last time this happened was in the mid-'80s when we had that oil crash at that point where assessed values dropped. Same thing is going on here. Now that's coupled with this pandemic situation we have. And so the values have dropped. State law says when that happens, that a taxing body can raise its millage to a new amount to bring in the same revenue as the prior year, but no more. It's different than in the past. Kevin, you're the only one here that's experienced the opposite side, is that when assessments increase, you have to roll your millage back to bring in the same amount as the prior year. But you could roll forward to a higher amount to bring in additional funds. You don't have that option this year. The assessments are down, so you either you keep your millage as it was last year, which means you have a 6.6% decrease in funds across the board, or you raise the millages to whatever level up to the new maximum. I'll be providing those numbers today.
Thank you. So potentially, that one presentation you gave us a while back, I think the parish alimony was 3.92 or something, and it's down.
3.05 is the millage. Is that you're referring to?
Correct.
is
But
the millage.
originally, it was at a higher rate.
That's correct.
And we rolled it down. So
That
you
is
telling me I can go all the way to the top?
You can go all the way to the new maximum. I
What's-
don't know the number offhand. The new maximum is going to be 3.6, let's just say. Just pick a number. I
Okay.
don't know it off the
But
top of my head.
if it's 3.6, you're saying that's just going to give me the same amount of money I had last year? Okay.
So will they have to do two ordinances? Just one ordinance with the new?
And no special 30-day publication.
Okay. When can we put that on the agenda for the parish? When do we need to do that?
Well,
That is scheduled for September 1st for intro and September 15th for final adoption.
Which is maybe a little backwards, because you're adopting your budget on September 10th. You might want to know what your millage is going to be before you adopt your budget.
That's happened before where
Right.
where the millage in the budget wasn't correct. So in this case, then I would say that the council needs to consider what it will want to do.
Well, I'm going to speak on just me. If you're telling me I'm going to have 6% less to deal with in the following year's budget, and I'm already lean and mean here, the parish can't afford to take a 1% or 2% decrease. So I would assume that I don't want to assume it for my fellow council members, but on my behalf, I think if the citizens know it's going to be rolling it forward to the new maximum, but that's still going to bring in just the same amount of money we did last year. We're not asking them to pay more. That's key, because when you say roll up, media and everybody else starts saying, oh, you raised my taxes, you're all about taxes. And they need to understand that because assessments are down, we're looking at a 4% and a 6% in the unincorporated areas or the parish. Then this council, if we don't want to keep digging a hole, we're going to have to go and roll it forward. So I would say prepared to go forward.
So
let me interject something right here. I would caution you and not to use those words, roll forward.
Right, okay.
It is not a roll forward.
Okay, what is it?
All you're doing is adjusting your maximum millage to the new adjusted maximum millage. That's all. Roll forward indicates that you're going to be bringing in more money. Don't use that terminology. It's just adjusting your maximum millage.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
You got that over there, media? Make sure you get it right. Do not use roll forward, and don't say Kevin Knockan said that.
So
I said it.
I would leave this to you then. The council may consider whether it wants to put forth the ordinance to levy the taxes based on what the assessor provides us later on.
Well, as chairman, I'm going to say go ahead and do it, and if the fellow council members vote against it, they vote against it. But I think we need to put that on there for September 1st.
And Conrad, a question. When we get the new numbers you said today, will you have a breakdown, like say if it's the drainage or the courthouse millage, what it needs to be adjusted to, so the council members could know, so we're not exceeding the amount?
There will be a separate page for every millage.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate that.
With a new millage amount on each page.
Okay.
A question, if assessments were to go up, future years, that would give us the ability to roll down to keep the same?
Does it automatically go down?
Does it automatically? No, we have to roll it down.
Assess higher rates.
It would be.
Okay.
Unless it is considered to be a reassessment. And I will caution you all, you're kind of playing Russian roulette with the millages at this point. Here's why. I can tell you what's going to happen this year. I can't tell you what's going to happen next year. If this economy turns around and assessments go up, that could be considered a reassessment. When that happens, if you haven't rolled forward to that new maximum, you lose that new maximum. You lose that new maximum. That happened one time since I've been in office, and it was the first year. My predecessor reassessed in 2000. council rolled back the millages. So some of them will roll up, some of them weren't. The next year I came into office, 2001, Tax Commission said, you need to reassess. Your predecessor didn't do residential. I went, what? I reassessed. Legislative auditor said, if you didn't roll forward, you lost it. And I argued till I was blue in the face for this government. Didn't matter. It was a reassessment. Next year, you could be facing that same situation. So I'm cautioning all the taxing bodies, be careful with how you handle these millages because we don't know what's coming next year.
It's a little easier for the parish. We don't have the option. We don't have no money.
Giving you the cost.
No, I appreciate it. You've been very helpful to me in my career and provide a lot of information that makes this council have to think about, because what you're saying makes all the sense in the world, you know. Facing what we face as a parish, though, I mean, there's no time to, I mean, we're not sitting with a $40 million surplus in a general fund, so. Councilman Rubin.
I want to address something you said earlier when the correctional center was up here. Unfortunately, councils of the past have put y'all in the situation y'all are in today. In the first consolidated council, they didn't roll forward those millages for 4 years, lost that maximum for the jail. Ouch. This past council, 3 out of the 4 years, rolled the millage back for the jail with mandated expenses and didn't roll it forward. Ouch. Now y'all are sitting in this situation. Well, where's the money? Well,
it's gone.
It's gone. You had the opportunity, but it's gone, huh? Yeah. No. Yeah. They had the opportunities in the past. So, right. Yes, sir.
Councilman Rubin.
With the adjustment, we're going to adjust forward. Well, let me not use that forward word.
Adjust to the new maximum.
Yeah, we're going to go. Okay, so we go to the new maximum. Next year, everything is great. Can we stay at that maximum, or do we have to drop back down?
Again, it depends on whether it gets considered to be a reassessment.
Okay, if it is a reassessment year, what would that option be?
Say that again?
Hey, let's say next year is a reassessment for whatever reason. What would that
then
be?
You'd have to roll back.
Okay.
So we couldn't stay at that.
You could roll back, but with a 2/3 vote of the council, you could vote to roll it forward to the new maximum, which is the maximum this year.
Right. So we wouldn't need the voters to vote on that or
no,
anything.
Sir. No, sir.
I think I'd actually like to.
Councilman Carlson.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so right now or in the next few weeks, we could approve that higher maximum, and then next year also approve a roll forward if we so choose.
If it's an assessment
year. If it's considered to be a reassessment.
Considered. Right.
Right.
If it's not considered a reassessment, then what?
We can't roll forward? Would it just stay at that?
Just stays at that level.
Okay.
Stays at that level, yeah.
All right, thank you.
And that's determined from the state, not you. Okay. All right. I don't have anything else. Any public comment? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Now the county agent, right?
Okay, now you can go to county agent. Yes, sir.
Oh, now you're giving me permission. I see how you want to be.
Page 233.
State your name for the official record, Mr. Charles, and any opening comments before we get started? Any remarks?
Yes, sir. Charles Hebert, County Agent, LSU Ag Center. Just want to introduce and give an overview of the program and who we are. If you have a couple of minutes today, but want to thank you, Mr. Chairman and Parish Council and Administration. We are the Cooperative Extension Service, the educational branch of the LSU Ag Center. Our office consists of both the LSU and Southern Ag Centers, which are part of the land-grant university system, and our mission is to help the citizens of Lafayette develop into any needs that the community has through educational programs and outreach based on sound research that that's being conducted, and we're part of the Louisiana Cooperative Extension Service on one side, which the other side is the experiment stations. And we provide program areas in the areas of agriculture, family and consumer science, and 4-H youth development. We are continuing to deliver programs in these challenging times through new innovative ways. Realize that our commodity field days, which many of you are aware of, have gone virtual. First time in the history of the LSU Ag Center. Our presentations were conducted on wagons previously. This year they went to websites. So we are shifting based on the needs of our community. Educational programs in gardening and nutrition are going on virtual platforms as well. We are working with the local school systems to implement 4-H clubs in the fall, which will be conducted through Google Classrooms. At the teacher leading that Google Classroom, just like they would have a class virtually. We will have 4-H club meetings virtually. And we're doing school enrichment programs on youth wetlands, on character education, and gardening, and those will be virtually as well, at least for the first 9 weeks, because the administration has stated we will not be allowed in the school system. We are partially school board appointees or employees. As you know, we take funds and we're leveraging funds through the state government, which is LSU and Southern, and then USDA is leveraging 20%. The state is 60%. The USDA is 20%. Then the local portion of that is both the Lafayette Consolidated Government, y'all as the governing body, and the Lafayette Parish School System are our local support. So those really 3 levels, which are 4 entities, combined are what makes up the salaries for our staff. And just want to thank y'all, the administration, for all of your support over the course of the many years. I've been here 26 years, and the council, well, both councils and administration have supported us up to this time, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with each of you individually. And if you have any questions, I'm here and would like to answer your questions if you have those today.
Okay, I'm not seeing any, but just, Laurie, give the fellow council members, we've been funding them through a parish general fund, correct?
Right. We have funded the county agent through the parish general fund. It is not a mandate. It is something, as Charles said, that we do in conjunction with the other agencies that he mentioned, the school board being our other local partner, and then the rest funded at the state level.
We have it's a cooperative agreement is what it is between local government and LSU.
Yeah. No, I can tell you, I've participated in your programs at the school, cooked with the kids, did the 4-H thing. I continue to support a lot of those activities. And, you know, my goal is to continue to find funding to keep you guys going, because I think what you provide for children, and I think there's, you know, we need more 4-H and more livestock, and it's, you know, I've seen what you do, the gardeners thing, and, you know, I mean, it's really something that I hold value. Yes, I know it's not a mandate, but I believe this parish council, if we can get some things turned around, save some money in the general fund, or potentially get right-sized, that, you know, we'd like to continue servicing you guys.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any other questions. I see there's no capital and no manning table, so thank you for your time.
Thank y'all, appreciate it.
Okay. Moving next along to the health unit, Ms. Stefanski.
For the health unit, for the new folks, I'll tell you how the funding for the health unit works. We collect a parish-wide public health millage. That public health millage funds the health unit, animal control, and mosquito control, and that is written, that is in the proposition for that millage. What we did when we combined that millage and we went to the voters, we promised the agencies that we were funding that we would fund 100% of their needs for the year, and then we would give them another 50% in their fund balance. So that way, if there is a public emergency, like there ended up being this year with the health unit, or if there is a West Nile outbreak with mosquito control or rabies for the animal control, they have some money in their fund balance that they could use to address those issues. The rest of the funds remain in the special revenue fund called the Combined Public Health Fund.
Okay. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. Dr. Tina Stefanski. I'm the Medical Director for the Office of Public Health in Region 4. So, Mr. Chair, Council, Mr. Guillory, just want to thank you very sincerely for your support of the Lafayette Parish Health Unit. So we're located on Willow Street in Lafayette. It's a fairly new facility. I say new, it's 2003. I've been doing this job for too long. I started in 2001. So it's a great facility. In addition to personal health services, which are TBs, we have a TB clinic. We provide childhood immunizations and some adult immunizations, reproductive health services, STD clinics, and big WIC clinics, which are nutritional supplemental programs for prenatal women and then children through the age of 5. So in addition to those personal health services, so pre-COVID, we saw through personal health, a range of 2,000 to 2,500 people a month through that health unit for personal health services. Of course, that's dropped a little bit with COVID, but we're building it back up and are continuing to do drive-through services. And of course, TB services, immunization, and reproductive health continue. Just some of those have been virtual, not immunizations. So again, personal health, we are one of the most productive health units in the state, always one of the top 3 here in Lafayette, and it's because of your support. We absolutely would not be there without your support. You all fund 5 registered nurses, 4 clerks, and 1 nurse assistant. We are incredibly fortunate in this parish to have your support. And then we also have an environmental health program, and so our sanitarians sit in that same building on Willow Street, and they inspect restaurants, small sewer systems, and they review plans. And then we also test the drinking water and enforce the EPA guidelines there. So it's a very active, busy place, and again, we're very grateful and thankful for your support. And then I would not be remiss in saying thank you for your support of healthcare for this COVID crisis and for your foresight, for Mr. Guillory bringing that to you all, and you're approving the $500,000 should we need parish support. Thankfully, we've been able to utilize state funds and federal funds for the PPE, testing supplies and operations and other support. But should we need, or if I hear that there's anything innovative or that would be helpful for the citizens of this parish, I know that I can come to Mr. Guillory and all of you and utilize some of those funds. So we're happy that they're there. And I'll finish with saying the other $65,000 that you see under contractual services are again a very innovative clinic. We're the only parish in the state to have a child psychiatrist at our health unit. So we have a wonderful local psychiatrist, physician who sees children twice a month at the Lafayette Parish Health Unit. It's only Lafayette Parish residents. And he is incredible. In fact, the state is looking to create this model and expand. And if there's any state funds for that kind of program, you can be sure that I will approach the state and ask to flip that and get more state support. But I can't talk enough. Mr. Rubin, you're exactly right about children and early intervention, and the work done through this very small clinic at the health unit has really been incredible. So thanks again for your support.
No problem. Thank you for everything. You know, I was on the council when the rededication was there. Has it turned out, has it been sufficient? Have we had any shortfalls, or has your unit, or, you know, taken a back seat because of the rededication? Because, I mean, from what I'm seeing, it looks like that rededication was a pretty smart move in the sense that everybody's somewhat, you know, we're getting taken care of.
Sure, yeah, we have not had any needs. And again, if there's any need, you can be sure I will come to y'all and ask. But no, it's working fine for us.
So basically, on starting expenses, page 232 at the bottom, and then you went to contractual service, so the $60,000 for 65.3 is for what you just mentioned, and then the other big notice is that we, as a parish council, we've approved putting the $500,000 as an emergency, and that's just basically if you can get state funds or whatever, and you need to dive into that, or we have another occurrence, that's what that money's there for.
Correct.
Okay. Anything on the bottom of 232 and 233? Council? Seeing none. You want the remarks now, or you want to close?
At your leisure.
Let's close when I get there. All right, nothing on 232, nothing on 233. There's no capital. We'll go to Manning table, pages 343 and 344.
So as Dr. Stefanski mentioned, we are fortunate here. We were able to fund those positions on the Manning table on page 343, 344. Traditionally, parishes throughout in the state of Louisiana provide the building for the public health unit, and they get all their O&M and their support from the state. We were able to fund the extra positions through that millage money and the child psychologists.
Yeah. Okay. Anything on 333, 343? Okay. All right. Seeing none, Council, Mayor President. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Dr. Stefanski, look, let me tell you, we've been in this battle together for several months now, but it feels like several years. And look, I can't let you come up here without saying good things about you. And I know this parish council, each one of the members are so grateful for you. When we did, with the blessing of the council, rededicate the $500,000 to respond to the emergency, they didn't hesitate. These guys knew the severity of the situation with COVID-19, but our awareness was so heightened because of your leadership. You came to the council, you volunteered. Look, I didn't have to talk her into. She leads our medical task force in the parish. Not only is she the Region 4 director, she's our leader. When I have medical questions, I call her. You know, the decision-making process is, and the team that she assembled is just remarkable. But as our CFO said, I just think it's such a blessing that we live in a parish where we're able to fund these positions. Now, maybe when Councilman Knocking, our chair, was when the original rededication you referenced, I don't know if there was foresight to see that we would need these positions, but boy, are we thankful, because it sure did help in this fight that we're still in, by the way. Can't be complacent. Yeah. So, but look, hey, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your leadership, your teamwork. I still don't know how you make all those conference calls, but somehow you do it. So we appreciate you.
Well, thank you. We and again, Lafayette Parish, great leadership, and I think that's really gotten us to this point where we're starting to see a decrease, slow decrease in the rate of infection. We need to continue to see that decrease. We have a tremendous healthcare system. Carlos has been great with your equity task force. So we've had testing provided throughout the parish, and so know that we're looking at every part of this parish and making sure that we bring resources fairly to all aspects and all individuals.
And Doctor, I have a question, and maybe definitely a side note, we could talk about it offline, but do you have any comparable data? Because you work very hard with Carlos to get the mobile testing site. Yes. Do we have any data that would compare to other parishes or counties in our country per capita that we can maybe see the fruits of the labor here?
Yep, we can get it. I don't have it, but I can get it. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would help.
Okay.
So thank y'all. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilman Tabor.
I was just going to say thank you. I just want a quick thank you.
Well, thank you. We really couldn't do it without you all, so thanks very much.
Okay. Councilman Rubin.
I, too, want to say thank you, and I'm going to pull a Josh Guillory right quick. Since we have the cameras.
There's a 5-minute rule. There's a 5-minute rule that I just cut down to 3 minutes. Maybe 2.
Since we have the cameras rolling, one of the things that I want to commend you guys. Hey, that's a Josh Guillory, man. I'm sorry. I want to commend you guys also, because what happens with these mobile units, I know that, like, at my job at UPS, the guys get off late, and they've been able to get the mobile units at job sites and get people tested after hours, like from 5 to 9 in the evening. So I want to thank you guys for doing that, and I would like to let everybody know if they have a job site that they're having troubles getting the test done, they can talk to you guys, and y'all can dispatch a mobile unit at their company after hours.
Sure, and I want to, I'm so glad you brought that up to mention Lafayette General. So this is definitely a collaborative effort between the National Guard, us, and Lafayette General Health. And so when one of us can't cover a site, then, there's a really great communication with all of us. So absolutely, people can call me, and I can, we divvy those resources up to make sure that we're able to cover.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's move on now to juvenile detention. We'll give Ms. Toops, I guess she's coming back in.
There's that, thanks, what do you use that one?
Kevin, Melinda said there's no pie chart, so you can move with,
Okay, no pie charts, all right. Introduce yourself, sir, Juvenile Detention Director.
Bobby Cormier, I'm the administrator of the Lafayette Juvenile Detention Home.
Okay, any open remarks, comments?
Yes, I'd just like to thank the administration and previous administrations, this council and previous council, for all the support they have given the juvenile detention over the years.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and begin on operating expenses, starting on page 118. 118. Councilman Carlson.
Yes, I'm looking at page 118, line item, it's 5300-0, promotion cost. Can you give us an update as to what that is? It looks like we're going from $861 to $64,000.
Yes, we have, when we hire a new employee, they go through the apprenticeship program, and it's a step. They do 40 hours of training, then they get promoted, they get a promotion, and then they do an additional 40 hours of training, and they get another additional promotion. So that's where that money is.
So that's the promotion cost for how many employees?
Well, right now, we're probably going to be hiring somewhere within, I guess, about 5 or 6 employees here.
New employees, or they're replacing?
Well, replacing people that have left for whatever reason.
Okay, if they're replacing someone who's left, wouldn't, I'm looking at personnel salaries, it's going down by 40,000, roughly. But then promotion costs are going up by 63,000. If somebody's leaving who's already been promoted, and then we're adding someone new at an entry level and they're going to be promoted, wouldn't that equal out to what we're currently spending?
I guess it depends on how it was budgeted. Whenever an employee leaves, if he's at the high rate and we go to
Got it. Okay. And this is really just primarily for my education. Thank you.
No problem. Councilman Tabor.
Also, I wanted for my education, I know y'all bring in some juveniles from out of different districts and areas. Is that referenced anywhere on this budget as income?
Yes, let's see, this is Fund 265, so if you go to revenues by fund and look for 265, it is on page 86. And it stays in the juvenile detention fund. It doesn't go to general fund or anything like that.
Okay.
It should say Louisiana parishes.
Yep, Louisiana Parish is about $100,000. Looks like last year's actual was $244,000.
What item, what number are you on?
It is almost to the bottom of the page, about an inch from the bottom. It says other revenues, Louisiana parishes, account number 49326.
On 265, you said?
Page 86, I'm sorry.
I thought you said 265.
Just trying to keep you on your toes.
I was just wondering, you could go ahead, I mean, that's fine.
Okay, let's stick to 118, promotional costs. Anything else? 118 going once. Okay, let's move over to 119. Nothing on 119. Okay. Let's go to 5-year capital, page 283.
On page 283, it looks like a new item is number 61. Yes, 41,000, number 61, cell room modifications.
Yes, and if I believe Mr. Cormier had came to us earlier in the year, or I can't remember when it was, that he had some renovations that needed with the doors and okay, so that's what that is right there.
That's what that is.
Okay, all right. All right, I'm not seeing anything there. Let's go to Capital 303. Okay, correctional, nope.
All the way at the bottom.
All the way to the bottom, okay. 303 and 304, the bottom of 303. So you got 66,000 for capital outlay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And 304. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions here. Manning table 328. I'm not seeing anything on 328. Are you there? Good? Okay. I believe that's it, sir. Any public comment? Okay. Any closing remarks? You good?
Just thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Bob. All right. Moving right along, now we're going to go to animal control.
So animal control is funded along with that combined public health millage that funds the health unit, animal control, and mosquito control.
Okay.
Which is a parish-wide millage.
Okay, at this time, go ahead and make any opening remarks. Directors, personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple opening remarks. I have my shelter director, Shelley Delahousie, with me, as well as Barbara Malonsa, our accounting clerk. Before we jump into the budget, I want to take about a minute or two to give you a couple of numbers on the no-kill movement. As you, Chairman Nakane, will recall, we kicked that off when Mayor Robideau took office a few years ago, and he tasked me with the task of supervising the animal shelter and taking over those duties. I'm pleased to report since that time, in 2015, we euthanized right at 2,700 animals. This year on track to euthanize 300 or so, 89% reduction in euthanasias. Our live outcome on cats went from 9% to right at 90%, 889% increase on cat live outcome. Our live outcome on dogs went from 47 to 89 for an 87% increase. We increased our rescue groups by about 350% since 15. Increased our shelter revenue by 29%, in large part to the ordinance y'all adopted in August of 17, which kind of changed the rabies tag fees and also sorted the TNR program, which greatly increased our cat adoptions. We've decreased shelter utility expenditures by about 75% in the last several years. In large part are mostly attributable to we eliminated cremation in-house. Our cremation machine went out. Instead of spending $250,000 on a new one and spending $3,000 plus a month on natural gas to run it, we privatized that, and we're saving probably about $40,000 a year in utility bills because of that. Plus our staff doesn't have to do it because that's privatized. That's basically all I have. Just wanted to give you all those documents on live outcome, and also want to tremendously thank the council who adopted the ordinance in early 19 to give us the additional $3.8 million that was necessary to fund the shelter. That is under construction. We started that in the beginning of January. It's anticipated completion probably about April or May of next year. So we're real excited about that. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility.
That's going to be nice. I remember years ago when I toured that facility, and just when Mayor Robideau came in about the no-kill, and we rededicated those millages, and I knew there was going to be enough to potentially build a state-of-the-art facility, and it's so needed, and I commend you for what y'all have done with the no-kill, and I think y'all do a great job, and I'm happy to see y'all being very successful.
And no-kill is technically 90% live outcome. As of right now, year-to-date, we're right at 89%, which is phenomenal for this time of the year because of the influx of kittens we have during this time of the year. So I feel very confident at the end of this calendar year, we're going to reach 90% live outcome. We'll be the only city in the state of Louisiana to have done that.
That's awesome. Did y'all get those cats away from Councilman Kenneth Boudreaux's house?
Yes.
Y'all did?
Yeah.
Well, I remember a couple of budgets ago, boy.
it.
Get rid of them cats. I don't want no cats. All right, let's go page 117, council members. Anything under animal control 117? Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, let's go to page 118 at the top. 118. Okay. Seeing none, there's no capital. Let's go to the Manning table, page 328. If you have any questions on the Manning table 328? Seeing any? 328. Going once, going to
On the Manning tables, Mr. Chairman, you may recall, or maybe you don't, last year when we were doing the budget, we had advised that in the upcoming budget, being this one we're talking about today, we would need at least one additional person to man the new facility because the way it's being structured. My director, Shelley, is convinced that we'll be able to do that with the existing staff. What happened in Houma when they opened their new facility, their volunteer corps went from about 25 volunteers to 200 because of the new facility. So they have to schedule volunteers weeks out, and Shelley's confident that we can do it with existing staff and won't need the person we thought a year ago we may need at this time.
Okay, great. That was probably one of my other questions, was going to be with this new state-of-the-art facility, how many more employees are we looking at the parish is going to have to fill to staff that facility?
We're going to staff it with our existing staff. We don't need any additional.
So for right now, we don't see any.
It's actually going to be way easier to clean because of the way it's designed. We have guillotine doors with floor drains. It's going to be a lot easier to clean. They're going to be able to clean a lot quicker.
Okay.
In fact, Shelley, tell them about what we have right now in Gen Pop, which is amazing.
Yeah, so our Gen Pop kennels, we call them Gen Pop, it's just stray dogs where they head. We have the capacity for about 60 dogs, and currently there's 2. Like before I left the shelter, I went and walked, and there's only 2 in there. So the reduced intake, I think, is really helping us. We kind of manage when people bring them in, why they're surrendering their animals, and try to help them out to keep their pets and keep them out the shelter, and that's helping a lot too, and reduce staff for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilman Gilbo, you have the floor.
Shelley, I'm going to help you out, and if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm going to do a PSA for you. Didn't I see something this week, or maybe even as late as yesterday, where y'all have a large number of animals up for adoption, and y'all are encouraging people to come in and adopt?
Yeah, always.
Yes. Yeah. It seems like there was a large number from what I...
It's about 10 or so dogs.
Yeah.
How many dogs we got in adopt? 10 or so?
Thank you, Chair.
We always appreciate
keep your fingers off. But anyway, let's encourage. I mean, y'all are doing a great job, and I do appreciate those. And I did see it, and so let's get the word out. Good job.
Thank y'all so much.
Huh? That's right.
And we have no capital this year.
Yep, I just saw that. Okay. And can you give everybody the address and location of this new wonderful establishment? Because it used to be in District 1. It's now District 2.
It is on
District 1 in your, whatever.
It's on Induga Road, about a quarter of a mile past the fire training facility and the compost facility.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It might be physically in your district, but it's in all of us.
No, what I was trying to say was that originally on my old seat, it was my district, but it doesn't matter now because it's all in the parish. And it moved from Willow, right? It moved from Pont de Mouton,
right,
to North Dugas Road.
Many years ago, it was on Walker Road, which was a very poor facility. Then they moved to Pont de Mouton, which which is also antiquated.
That's a good question. What happened to that facility since we're building that one? What's going to happen with that?
We're still working on it. We're having some discussions with LUS. LUS has the property on the side and behind it, and I'm thinking that they might want to take this over as a LUS facility. If not, we would just sell it if they have no need for it.
Is that a parish-owned facility? The one
No, it was acquired. It was acquired, actually, the property was actually acquired by LUS.
Okay. All right.
Because they have their transmission stuff. I was trying to sell our piece to LUS, but they said we already paid for it.
Because I was
So
thinking the
couldn't
same
get-
thing. If
I
it's a
tried to-
parish building, we could sell it since we're building the other one and put some money back in the general fund.
It probably has a value, the building we have right now with the property probably has a value of somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 or $500,000.
I got you. Okay, cool deal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you, Sean.
Thanks.
All right, moving along, I have the libraries next.
The library is funded with 2 parish-wide millages.
Used to be 3, correct?
Used to be 3, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Teresa, you can state your name and title for the record and any comments you want to make before we get started.
Okay, I'll have brief comments. Teresa Elberson, Library Director. And just so you know, this budget reflects the operations of 9 locations. We have the main library and 4 regional facilities throughout the parish. We also have 2 small facilities in Doosan and Milton that we lease. We have the Chenier Center branch in the Chenier Center, the Butler Library and the Martin Luther King Rec Center, and a storage facility. And our regional facilities in the main library are open 7 days a week. The other ones are open Monday through Friday. As Lori said, we have 2 millages that fund 99% of our operations. And next year is a special year for the library, and this budget's next year's budget that we're talking about. We will be celebrating 75 years in existence. We've had a tax millage on the books since 1948, I think, and been in existence since 1946 as a parish library system.
Let's start on page 233. 233. Library. Bottom of 233. Anybody? Seeing none, let's turn to page 234. Question. Being that you're down to 2 millages with the new library and Scott and some of the other facilities, how do you foresee keeping up with the operating expenses? Or is there still plans to do anything on the north side? I'm sorry, not the north side, Upper Lafayette, or on, I'm not trying to identify sections, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Well, we started cutting our budget 2 years ago when before we had to really reduce funding. We've taken about $1 million, or just less than $1 million, just tightening up different things. So we think we're going to be dipping into fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
What fund balance we have left.
Do you know how much fund balance you have left?
Mm-hmm.
On page 51, the library is Fund 263. With this budget, they're estimated to have, at the end of next year, fiscal year, $7.3 million in fund balance.
Okay, and you're running about $1 million right now?
We're right, estimated before we got Conrad's good news,
Right.
1.5 million possibly.
So you're going to have to dip in your reserve for the,
1.1 million.
Yeah.
okay. It's
If-
coming out of the fund balance?
Right.
Okay. So your projection is after she takes out the 1.1, she still has 7?
Yes, that's provided the millages are adjusted as the assessor told us about earlier. If
That
not,
we adjust to the newest level. If not, she takes,
she's
everybody
gonna
takes a
have
dip.
6% less.
Right. So we're very, very careful. We've been renegotiating all of our contracts. We do not want to take any increased reoccurring debt
Right.
on. So we're very, very conscious of that. We watch our money quite carefully. But we do have some expansion projects, and let me
Yeah,
go
go ahead.
ahead and explain that a little bit. I should have brought that up at the beginning. We have in capital budgets right now 3 projects that are ongoing. We have the South Regional Expansion project that was put in the capital budget several years ago. And where we're at on that, we should have construction documents submitted sometime this month, and we'll be getting bid documents ready to go. So we hope to have that bid out. And that is an expansion project of the South Regional Library, which is the busiest facility in the parish, of about 7,300 square feet. The North Regional Library, money was put in last year's budget. We've started on that since it's just a building expansion project, and we've just finished the building program that's going to be submitted to the board Monday night, and hope to go into the schematic design later in September. So that project's just starting. For the Northeast Library, which is the new library that you're talking about to service the northeast part of the parish. Right now, the money's in the budget, in the capital budget, and we are working on it. The virus kind of slowed us down. The first part of a project is getting the building program done and getting an architect assigned. The architect has been assigned. The building program has started, but we were not able to get community input with any community meetings.
Gotcha.
So we've got a survey going out this fall to get started on what we actually need before we can do the building program.
Okay.
So we are working on that, and we're looking for property. We'll
Okay.
be sending out an RFP soon for that, we hope.
So that progress is going to continue to move forward. We're not stopping it or nothing, right? Our goal is to get there.
Once again, we're going forward because the money's there, and we can do some preliminary, but funding the operational cost of that facility is of major concern.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. I didn't see anything else on page 234 by any of my fellow council members. 5-year capital, page 284. 284. Anything on 284? Okay. Seeing none. No capital. Manning table, 344. Page 344. Manning table. Oh, okay. Councilman Carl.
I apologize. I want to go back a little bit. Page 234, almost in the middle of the page, 70520-0. It says telecommunications database license fee. What's the cost of that? I mean, what is that? What software is that for $450,000?
It's not software, it's databases. It's our electronic e-books and e-audio books, which is 9% of our circulation, if not more. It's all the Homework Louisiana database that the kids get free tutoring.
Overdrive too?
It's Overdrive,
Yeah,
yes. It's
I'm
Libby,
familiar
it's
with it.
everything.
Okay. I just wanted to, I wasn't sure what it
Yeah,
was.
there's about 16 or 17 databases, and that's supplemented by the state. The state supplies half the databases, we supply the other half.
Okay.
But Overdrive's the biggest chunk of that.
Okay. All right. And Manning table 344. Anybody? 344. Okay. I'm seeing none at this time. Any public comment? Okay.
All right. Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Reese. All right. All right. Now we'll move over to district court.
District Court is a parish mandate. It is funded from the parish general fund.
100%? What's the allocation on that?
There's no allocation. They may get some grant money. Is that right?
We do have some grants, yes.
The grant money that handles the child support services?
We have child support, we have juvenile, adult drug court, we have different courts that operate under grant money.
But it's primarily funded from the parish general fund.
Okay. Yeah, I would think so. It's a parish function. All right. State your name and title for the official record.
Hi,
and give
my
us
name's Caroline Roy. I am the court administrator for the 15th Judicial District.
Okay. All right. Any open remarks or good?
No, I'm good to go.
Good to go. All right.
Yes, sir.
Been here a while. I'm sorry. Page 106. Page 106 at the top. Judicial District Court. 106. Okay. Question I have on 106, capital outlay,
Yes, sir.
89000-0, Fund 105.
Mhm.
What,
The
Make it some-
70,000, is that what you're referring to?
yes, ma'am.
That is a request. We have equipment that's in all of the courtrooms. It's a digital recording equipment.
Okay.
It's been in place for some time. As it's aging, we're having a difficult time getting it repaired. So my request is to replace that equipment, to
Okay.
update it and bring it up to standard.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to page 303 for capital.
And that's where you'll see she was talking
That's
about
what
the
I was just
recording
referring
system.
to.
Yep.
Yes,
The
sir.
system.
Okay. Not seeing anything else here. Manning table, 326. Manning table, 326. Seeing none. All right. Any public comment? Okay.
Great.
Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
And final one I have, man of the hour, District Attorney himself, Mr. Keith Stutes. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Keith Stutes. I'm the district attorney, at least for another couple of months.
What?
So before I say anything, I do want to thank all of you for your efforts, for your public service, for the opportunity to have served you and worked with you for the past, 6 years as DA and 35 years total. I think I'm going to miss it, having these conversations with you, you know. Every year, the DA comes to you with his hat in his hand, basically begging for you to give him something, and you've accommodated the DA. I do have to say, I'm a little disappointed. I'm actually hurt that I thought I was your favorite mandate, your favorite parish mandate. I'm a bit offended by that. I've tried really hard. I've tried really hard to be your favorite. So, you know, I'll say for the past at least 4 years, we've gone through this process. I've made the request, and basically the allowance, the mandate to the DA's office is an allowance. It's like a child coming to his father to ask for an allowance. We have expenses. Our expenses are at least twice as much as what I ask of you for this allowance. And each year you've graciously given, I believe, what you can. I recognize your limitations, and we've talked about that in other contexts. Believe me, this is not the first time I get to talk to you about how this system works. And each year you've given me a little less. And this year you've given me about $266,000 less than what my request was. I understand. You have $50,000 left in the general fund. I understand that. But I have to tell you, and I accept it. Without belaboring the point, I accept it. Each year we execute a cooperative endeavor agreement where I agree that I don't ask for more than that, and you agree to pay it in installments and some other terms. But I have to take this opportunity to tell you that we have finally kicked the can to the end of the road, and it has hit the wall. There is no further a road. There is no further a path to go. So this is really the pinch point. I think next year's budget, the budget after that is going to be quite an event. So you know, with that, I will tell you, I accept. I'll take it. I will do with less. My expenses have certainly not gone down over the past 5 years. They've stayed the same, but the allowance we get from you is depleting itself. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. And I appreciate that. Me and you've had several sidebar conversations. I'm a strong believer in turning the parish around, but you definitely are working with way less than you need. I mean, you need more, and I wish we'd be able to give it. And I want you to know I appreciate the job that you have done and been a great friend of mine outside of being in politics. We have had several conversations and worked with you in previous councils, and you know, I commend you for what you do and your staff and what you got to do with less, with nothing. And my goal would be in the next 3 years before I walk out of office would be somehow to get the parish on step and be able to take care of all of those functions. And thank you, and I appreciate your comments. So we'll get started. Page 106, District Attorney's Office. 106. 106. Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to 107. Councilman Carlson.
Mr. Stutes, I'm looking at the top of page 107, the very top, 70907-0, contractual services. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
I think is that Fund 268, is that the criminal court fund? That's the...
I thought it was from District Attorney on the prior page.
Yeah, it is the district attorneys, but it's in a fund called the Criminal Court Fund.
Okay.
That has its own set of state statutes. I just wanted to make sure that
Got it.
he realized we were talking about that, so he
Okay.
can tell you all about those state statutes.
Well, I can tell you about that then. All right.
Sure.
You know, the criminal court fund is set out by statute. It is a mandated fund that has to be created in the parish of Lafayette called Lafayette Parish Criminal Court Fund. It does not go into the general fund. It is not part of the general fund that you have control of. There are statutory things that go into it. Fines, forfeitures, and a pittance of fees that come from the Department of Public Safety. That's the sole source of the funds in the criminal court fund. The same statute that sets it up establishes what comes out of it. And what comes out of it is by a motion filed by the DA. So the DA really controls the distribution of that criminal court fund, and an order signed by the court. There's certain designated things that it pays. Court costs, court expenses, generally court reporter fees, witness fees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is also available as a secondary source. It is also available as a secondary source to pay for the expenses of the court and the DA that would be over and above what it gets from any other source. So the general fund expense that I've agreed to, that you might pay, is not supplemented by that. You know, thank God there is a criminal court fund that allows some funding to at the end of the year, restore the DA and the court back to expenses, to cover expenses that have not been covered. That is what that amount comes to. Okay. And that's carried over from the previous year. Yeah. That completely changes every year. And I can tell you, because of the COVID, because of the court structure at this point, the criminal court fund this year will not be the criminal court fund amount that it generated last year. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on 107? Seeing none. Manning table, page 326. 326, Manning table.
Is that the non-support Manning table? Yes. All right. There is one division of the DA's office that is not contained within the DA's budget or the DA's funding process. It's the non-support. It is a grant that the DA's office receives from the Department of Health and Human Resources, and it is utilized to pay for salaries of the non-support section. They are administered, those employees, and that budget is administered by LCG. So it's a flow-through. We receive the funds and then restore LCG with the expenses of those salaries and expenses. And there are a number of employees that are listed on your Manning tables.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing anything for the Manning table. Any public comment? Oh.
Yeah, I would like to make a public comment.
Yeah,
all right.
go ahead.
I am a citizen of a proud citizen of the parish of Lafayette. I happen to live, fortunately and unfortunately, in the city of Lafayette, but I am first and foremost a proud son of the parish of Lafayette. You've heard me say this before. I've said it often before. I will no longer be standing before you as the DA to tell you that in the way that I did as the DA, but I will be standing before you as a citizen of the parish of Lafayette. And I'm going to demand that you do what I asked you to do and have asked you to do in the past, is to think in terms of what you did today that bettered the parish of Lafayette. Not only you, but all of the councils. Because that's really your chore. That, I think, is the chore that has been bestowed on you as elected to this new city parish government. I intend to be really vocal about this next year. I'll be vocal about it as a citizen. So I may be one of those guys that stands here demanding 5 minutes of your time every time that you give me an opportunity. You need to think outside the box. We need to come up with a different way. This is not the best. This is not the right way to do it. It was dumped onto you all to suddenly create a new and proper system. And you couldn't do it. It just couldn't be done with that kind of speed. So this is what we have, this same process. It's not satisfactory to any of us. This is the opportunity you'll have next year, and between now and the next year, the next budget beyond this one, to come up with a better system. Your kids deserve it, my kids deserve it. You know, remember, what you have to avoid is the sins of the father visiting the children. I think I've told you all this, and I want it to sink in. So next year you'll be hearing from Keith Stutes, citizen of the parish of Lafayette. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. All right. Everyone is invited to a public hearing for the citizens' input on the budget on any matter related to the budget, which will be held on Tuesday, August 18th at 5:30 p.m. during the special joint council meeting. The next departmental budget review is scheduled for today, August 13th, to hear the following departments. At 1 p.m., both councils will review drainage, traffic, roads, bridges, public works, and public works capital projects. Thank you for attending. Meeting adjourned. See you back at 1.